Normally an advantage, it is threatening rain here tonight. One of the things that these two teams have in common is that they have retained veterans at quarterback. They are both back, J.C. Watts and Joe Barnes.
Well, we've made quite a few changes this last week. After the last exhibition game, our coaches decided that we needed help in the receiving position, so we've added James Hood and Kerry Taylor, and I think they're quality players. They're great athletes, and they've had a great, crash course all week in trying to put the offense in. So I feel like we're ready to play, and we've got a good game plan ready for Ottawa. And our offense has been criticized and ridiculed a lot in the press in Montreal, but we feel like we have a good offense, and we plan on showing things tonight.
The 1986 Rough Riders, the Ottawa Rough Riders, were much improved, and the reason being is I think the coaches, they've had a year to understand the offense better, to coach the offense. The players have had a year to understand it better and to execute the offense, and that makes for bad execution. Now, the offensive line are giving the quarterbacks time to get the ball off, to make the certain reads and do what we're supposed to do. The receivers are on the same page as the quarterback and vice versa. And I personally feel fine. I think, I'm healthy. I'm looking forward to the best season yet of my CFL career. So, if we're all on the same page and we're doing things right, we'll put some points on the board.
Neither of tonight's quarterbacks are liable to go long very often. J.C. Watts does not have a cannon for an arm, but he can hurt you with his feet. And Joe Barnes just happens to like the short passing game. High percentage, low risk. Now let's go upstairs to Pat Marsden and Leif Peterson.
Well, thank you, Dan. A sincere welcome to you and a sincere welcome to football fans across the country. Leif, we're back for another year. Delighted to be here. I also know that the Montreal Alouettes are delighted that they have got a lot of new people in their defensive secondary, and yet that's strange, because that was the strength of their football team of 1985.
Well, Pat, no coach is ever happy with what he's got. And Montreal really last year were very predictable on defense, a group that played a lot of zone coverage. This year they changed, they revamped that entire secondary, and here you see them. This is a group that can play a lot of man-to-man coverage. What that does is now allow the Montreal defense to be a little more risky. Take some chances and blitz, and you've got to have those good guys back there to play man-to-man.
Well, unfortunately for Montreal's offense, Nick Araki will not be there.
Well, he was hurt in the exhibition season, will not play in 1986. They had to revamp quickly. Kerry Taylor, acquired from the Toronto Argonauts, is a proven slot back. 59 catches last year. He will not hurt them. They received James Hood in another trade from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he played 5 games last year. In my opinion, he was a very exciting player and should do very well.
The Ottawa Rough Riders have a lot of new faces, and we'll talk about those during the course of this game. But right now, here's Dan.
There have been a lot of changes this year, Pat, mostly to the backs and secondary. There will be a lot of familiar faces banging heads in the pits. Neither club has done much tinkering with its offensive or defensive lines. The Riders and the Alouettes shortly. This is CTV's Friday Night Football.
To patriot love in all thy sons command, how to brasse porter le pays, il sait porter la croix. Son histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Well, it doesn't appear to be a sellout by any strange imagination, but that man could care less, because he is Jacques Decarie, the referee for tonight's football game. And he's got a lot of experienced personnel with him. Chuck Paul, Ed Dunn, Dave Hutton, Bobby Bryan, and George Black will be handling their assignments as the understudies to the referee-in-chief, Jacques Decarie. The Montreal Alouettes, formerly the Concords, will receive the opening kickoff from Dean Dorsey. And it will be interesting to see if Montreal, who have acquired so many new people in the last couple of weeks, can gel this quickly. Dean Dorsey, one of the strengths of the Ottawa Rough Riders, undoubtedly. the veteran field goal kicker, had the best percentage in the league last year. Kerry Taylor, the ex-Toronto Argonaut, takes it at the Montreal 4-yard line. Taylor gets it out over the 25 to about the 27, brought down by number 33, the veteran cornerback, Lamont Meacham of the Ottawa Rough Riders, after a return of 24 yards. And this is the way Montreal will line up. The veteran Joe Barnes is at quarterback in this his 11th season. Alan Reed and Wes Cooper will be his running backs, and there is receivers with the offensive line lining up that way. And so at center is the veteran Glenn Keeble, with Montreal starting from their own 28-yard line. The running play goes to Alan Reed, and the sophomore back gets it up over the 35-yard line to about the 36 before Al Washington, number 17, the linebacker, was there to bring him down after a pickup of 9 yards, make it 2nd and 1, as we take a look now at how Ottawa will line up defensively.
Well, really the only newcomer to the Ottawa front seven will be number 31, or actually no newcomers except Jeff Roberts, defensive end. You saw he played a few games last season, and he's back at that defensive end spot.
It is 2nd down, a yard to go. Montreal, and the give is to Wes Cooper, and Cooper will have the first down of this football game as the Alouettes come out running. And that might have been just a little bit of a surprise to the Ottawa defensive unit, who expected Joe Barnes to go for those quick little passes that pick up 6 and 7 yards at a crack.
The one change in the Ottawa secondary from last year, Chris Ziegler moving from that safety spot to a defensive back spot. Phil Jones coming over from the Montreal Alouettes to play the safety.
And Darryl Hall, the ex-Edmonton Eskimo, is with Ottawa on the corner as well, number 24, as Barnes looks to put it up, does. It's complete to Jacques Chapdelaine. And Chapdelaine, the ex-British Columbia Lion, picks up the biggest gain of the ball game, 21 yards into Ottawa territory at the 47-yard line before being brought down by Darryl Hall.
Good throw by Joe Barnes to Jacques Chapdelaine, getting a chance to start this year for Montreal. Came over in a trade last year from the BC Lions, and a good job coming back to the football and back-to-back first downs. High percentage passing by Joe Barnes.
First down, Montreal at the Ottawa 48-yard line. We are just underway on a muggy night in the nation's capital. Barnes's pass is underthrown, looking for the back, Alan Reed, coming out of that Montreal backfield. Well, what do you like so far of that Montreal offense?
Well, I like getting those backs out of the backfield on pass play. You just saw a guy like Alan Reed, who caught 56 balls for them last season. Excellent out of the backfield and a good matchup. That time, Darryl Nicholson, the middle linebacker, had to go a long way to cover him. Joe just got to connect.
Be nice to see number 22, Wes Cooper, have a good game. He was cut last year by Calgary, had to sit out all of 85. Now finds employment with Montreal as their fullback because of the injury to Tony Johns. And the ball goes right through his hands. Sorry, Wes, I shouldn't have mentioned you.
You jinxed him right off the bat, giving him the big plug there. But Wes Cooper, kind of a surprise to be starting in the Montreal backfield this year. Tony Johns out with an injury, so Cooper gets his opportunity. And, of course, would have loved to hang on to that football there.
So Phil Jones will drop back with a name that you will become familiar with during the course of this season, Reggie Butts, number 29. Butts is a newcomer to the Ottawa Rough Riders from the USFL, and Ottawa has 2 outside receivers that they're very high on, Butts being one of them. This is Phil Jones from inside the Ottawa 10. He gets to about the 12-yard line after handling the punt by Mike McTagg. William Mitchell brings him down at that point. A 41-yard boot is returned 5 yards. Ottawa will start deep in their own territory, and this is the way they will line up. Lester Brown was cut, brought back, and starts tonight because of various injury situations. And those are the 2 outside receivers I was referring to. 29, Reggie Butts. Mark Lewis, the son of former Winnipeg great Leo Lewis, is number 5, and he's a dandy. The pass is complete to Lester Brown, and Lester gets out over the 15 to about the 16 before Steve Benjamin, the rookie cornerback for Montreal, number 2, is there to bring him down after a 4-yard gain. Offensively, Well, not a whole lot of changes in that offensive unit, Leaf.
No, not really, Pat. An all-Canadian offensive line, as everybody has gone to the last few seasons. There's the defensive front that they'll be trying to handle. Steve Rocky, ever dangerous as that pass-rushing defensive end.
Second down, 6 yards to go. Watts again wants to put it up, does. And it is complete to Mark Barousse. And Barousse is dropped virtually at the line of scrimmage by Terry Irvin, the 10-year veteran of the Canadian Football League who came over to the Alouettes this year.
Well, Terry Irvin, who we'll see in just a moment, listed on your screen, 10 years, as Pat mentioned, 7 of those with the Calgary Stampeders, 2 with Regina, and now coming over in a trade to the Ottawa Rough Riders. Had his best year in 1984 when he had 11 interceptions.
So Kenny Clark, who had the best punting average in the CFL last year, will be booting it, and you'll recognize this name as well. Number 29, Jeff Treflin, who played last year with Edmonton, is one of the punt returners for the Alouettes. This, however, is not Treflin. This is Kerry Taylor. And Kerry dipsy-doodles his way inside the 45 to about the 43-yard line, and that's where the Alouettes will put it into play when we come back. It's still scoreless here at Lansdowne Park, and we'll be back in a moment. Here is the Colonel, Joe Moss, his second year as the head man of the Ottawa Rough Riders, and there is absolutely no doubt about who calls the shot with this team. You're looking at the man right there. After that 49-yard punt, the big 27-yard return by Kerry Taylor gives Montreal first down at the Ottawa 42-yard line. Barnes swings it out to Alan Reed, and Reed picks up half-decent yardage getting into the 36-yard line before Ricky Barton, who's not very big at 5'9", and Phil Jones at 6 feet combined to bring him down.
Well, as I mentioned, Alan Reed had 56 receptions last year, and the blitz was coming, and Joe Barnes, the veteran, read it quickly, dump it off to Alan Reed, and he picked up some pretty good yardage there on first down.
The thing that they like about Ricky Barton, number 25, the man who made the big hit, is he's not big, but he loves to put his nose in there, as you saw.
Oh, he's a tough one.
On 2nd and 5, Barnes throws. The pass is complete to Mike McTagg in at about the 26-yard line. He fights his way to about the 24 before finally Lamont Meacham brings him down, but it'll be another Montreal first down, and you've got to be impressed with the Alouette offense.
Well, Pat, we talked about Chris Sigler moving from safety to that inside halfback spot this year, and they thought he could cover 1-on-1, but boy, Mike McTagg turned him inside out on that last reception.
First down, Als. Barnes' pass is complete to Jacques Chapdelaine. And Chapdelaine is into the 10-yard line, and it will be another Montreal first down as Joe Barnes is showing you all the experience that he has gained since coming to the CFL 11 years ago with this very same Montreal Alouette team, but he's made the rounds since.
Well, he's working on Darryl Hall, and he's giving him a lot of room, and Jacques Chapdelaine does a nice job, but Joe Barnes into the hurry-up offense already to try and throw that Ottawa defense off.
But it did not work because breaking through was Lloyd Lewis. He harassed Joe Barnes sufficiently that they ended up actually losing about a half yard. So make it 2nd and 10.5 yards to go. Actually, if they get 10 yards, they'll be in the end zone, so we don't have to worry about that half yard. Montreal threatening to get on the scoreboard with 7 minutes and 45 seconds left to play in the first quarter. And Barnes doesn't get it away because Greg Marshall was all over him, number 66. They were concerned about the 8-year veteran from Oregon State because Marshall never did get cranked up in the preseason. As he said to me before this ball game, you get cranked up when they start paying the salary.
Well, that's what I like about the veterans. You know, 2 preseason games, it's tough sometimes to get your motivation up, but that's all you need right there. First game of the season, and a very big play early in the game. Greg Marshall coming up with the sack.
So we will see Roy Kurtz. Kurtz was simply outstanding with Montreal until sustaining an injury halfway through the season. But they claim that he's back 100% healthy. It was a thigh bruise that had put him out for so long. And yes, it's good. The Montreal Alouettes have gone out in front of the Ottawa Rough Riders 3-0, and we'll be back in a moment. And Matheson, he's kind of a new kid on the block, too. I'm referring to Gary Durchik. There may be nicer men in professional sport. I don't know where you'd find them, though, because this guy is a dandy.
And he's feeling a lot better this year. Suffered for the last few years with a very bad hip, and in the offseason had a hip replacement, and now he says he's moving around a lot better. He says it's tough going in through the airport security, though, because there's a little metal in there that sets off the alarms every time he's through.
All the kickoffs this year come from the 35-yard line, and Kurtz bounces down to the newcomer, Butts. Reggie Butts, and he's got some speed. He also had an outstanding kickoff return average in the USFL, and he shows you his abilities as he picks up 24 yards before Sandy Armstrong, number 81, is there to make the stop. So Ottawa will now start from their 44-yard line. Their only possession prior to this one, they started inside their 10. J.C. Watts has got to get it done early because they'll give him the hook if he doesn't. Watts' pass is picked off by William Mitchell. Mitchell is finally knocked out of bounds by number 21, Lester Brown. But J.C. had complete tunnel vision, drilled it right into William Mitchell, the former Toronto Argonaut and Ottawa Rough Rider linebacker, and he returns at 25 yards.
That run-and-shoot style offense just took a little too long to develop. He was looking for number 15, Stu Fraser, but didn't see number 31, William Mitchell, who's been an all-star the last 3 years for the Toronto Argonauts, a free agent, picked up and signed by Montreal, and he puts it in great field position for his quarterback.
The Alouettes have possession at the Ottawa 33-yard line. Barnes is going deep for all the marbles, and it was knocked away by Lamont Meacham. The pass was intended for James Hood, and Hood was there, but the ball was just slightly underthrown, and Meacham went up and knocked it away.
Well, Pat, that was the only difference right there. It's simply the ball not thrown far enough by Joe Barnes, because initially James Hood was about 7 yards in behind Lamont Meacham, and only a poor throw stopped that from being a touchdown.
Well, I know that you really like James Hood. We saw him last year with Winnipeg.
He played 5 games for Winnipeg when either James Murphy or Jeff Boyd was injured, and he really did a good job, and I think Montreal is very fortunate to have him.
It is second down, 10 yards to go. Montreal at the Ottawa 33. Barnes's pass is thrown out of bounds, and probably intentionally, because with the experience that Joe has, he could not find anybody downfield, and he wasn't going to have it picked off.
And don't have it picked off when you got a chance for 3 points, because Roy Kurtz, this is well within his range, and Joe knew that, just threw it out of bounds.
We had a nice chat with Joe before the ball game. He looks terrific and is really keen to play.
Very keen to play, and
happy to be out of the oil business. You can understand why with the price of oil. Not what it was a few years ago. So Kurtz will try his second field goal of 1986. This one will come from the 40-yard line. And it is wide. Phil Jones finally concedes the single point, and the Montreal Alouettes pick up another point. They lead the Ottawa Rough Riders 4-0, and we'll be back in just a moment. Well, it's not quite 8 o'clock, so I assume it's safe to say hello to our old pal Bill Stevenson before he nods off. Bill, of course, after all these years with us, has decided to stay home and enjoy the games on television. We just want to let him know that we'll really miss you, Grampy. Have lots of fun, and you can go to bed now. Well,
he's having lots of fun. I heard him doing a report from Glen Abbey today, so he's getting to do all the exciting fun stuff. And, Bill, we miss you, partner.
The handoff goes to the fullback of the Ottawa Rough Riders, Jim Reed, who is 100% healthy this year. The 8-year veteran from Wilfrid Laurier picks up, well, a yard at best. Brett Williams, number 71, was there to make the stop.
Well, you're not going to see that play too often in 1986, I don't think, because last year in the entire season, Jim Reed carried the ball 16 times.
And the year before, he didn't have any until the last game of the season, if you'll remember.
He'd get too excited coming out of the huddle.
It's 2nd and 9. Flag is down. Watts gets the ball to the 44-yard line. He would still be short of the first down pending the penalty marker. Doug Scott, number 70, the great defensive lineman of the Montreal Alouettes, made the stop. The penalty is holding against Ottawa. Now Montreal has to decide, do they want to leave them a half-yard short on 3rd down, or are they going to take the penalty and make it 2nd down repeated?
I don't make you think twice about that one too long. Push him back.
Absolutely. And here's the call from referee Jacques Decarry.
Holding Ottawa number 53, 2nd down over.
That's Jerry Hornet, the former Saskatchewan and Calgary center, who is now with the Ottawa Rough Riders, and the Simon Fraser grad probably felt that he had to hold on that occasion because somebody was coming in to sack the quarterback. But as a result, Ottawa is 2nd and loads. And JC desperately needs a big play. But unfortunately, there was a complete mix-up between he and Mark Lewis, and it is picked off. The Montreal Alouettes pick up their 2nd interception. Terry Irvin, the veteran, was there to make the interception. And now the Boo Birds are out for J.C. Watts. It will not take long. J.C. is not the most popular man in the nation's capital.
Well, really a mix-up here. J.C. thought the receiver was going to go deep, and we saw this happen last night in B.C. with Tommy Clements, one of his receivers, and very unfortunate. But Terry Irvin, number 32, just kept going for the ball, and boy, has he been a ball hawk in the last few seasons in the CFL.
So it is 1st down, Montreal. The ball at their 43-yard line, and the give is to Dan Huckluck. Huckluck is in there now at the fullback spot in place of Wes Cooper. I will never forget the knee injury that Dan Huckluck sustained.
Yeah, we were doing the game. It was a Labor Day special out in Regina when he was with Winnipeg, and a devastating injury, and I'm really glad to see him back playing football again.
Yeah, I said a knee, but it was a broken leg.
I think he broke his leg.
Yeah, and it was a terrible break. So it is 2nd down and 5 yards to go after the pickup by Huckluck. And this time the ball carrier is Alan Reed. And let me make an editorial comment right now. I'm so glad to see a football club running the ball. Rick Sovieta was there to make the stop. But it is a 1st down, Montreal. And while we're talking about running the football, let's say congratulations to Donnie Matthews and his staff in BC, because they used the Canadian Football League rules to full advantage last night, and that was one of the reasons it was such an exciting performance. 1st down, Montreal, the ball at midfield. Barnes swings it out to Alan Reed. And Reed does a good job. Boy, he gave them lots of effort on that one. As he crosses into Ottawa territory at the 47-yard line, Chris Ziegler finally brought him down.
And he got a great block from his slot back, number 20, Kerry Taylor, as well. You'll see the tail end of this play as Alan Reed turns it up. Kerry Taylor comes in, throws a good block on 74, Daryl Nicholson, right there at the bottom of your screen.
The pickup was very close to 9 yards.
Speaking of performances, though, Pat, isn't it kind of coincidental that all the rivalries were at each other this week? Calgary, Edmonton, BC, Winnipeg, Toronto, Hamilton, and now tonight, Montreal, Ottawa.
Well, it's good scheduling as well. This is Alan Reed. And Reed was there to get the 1st down for Montreal before Daryl Nicholson brought him down, number 74. Don't want this to sound like, you know, we're here strictly to promote the CFL, but in the games that I have seen, I think the quality of play this early in the season is the best that I can remember in an early part of a year, and I think the talent has really been upgraded.
Well, I think it has, too. The USFL, of course, as everyone knows, has drastically cut the number of their teams, and no one's sure if they will be operable this year, so there's some good players available.
Barnes in a lot of trouble is sacked back at the 49-yard line. The 2nd time tonight that Ottawa defensive unit got to him. Rick Sovieta, number 75, the 10-year veteran, was there to bring him down.
Well, the best way to slow down some momentum is to come with that blitz and be successful. Number 75, Rick Sovieta, the first man in there to sack Joe Barnes, and what a illustrious career he has had. 10 years in the league, 6'4", nice size for a linebacker, and get those hands up, and good player.
It's 2nd down, 16 yards to go. Montreal, the ball at the Ottawa 50. Barnes fires, and it was very nearly picked off by Phil Jones as he overshot the intended receiver. Looked like it was Mike McTagg breaking across the middle, wasn't it, Lee?
Yeah, Joe threw it off his back foot, and anytime you do that, watch, right off that right foot, which is his back foot in the throwing motion, the ball will sail on you, and that's exactly what happened.
So again, Reggie Butts, number 29, And number 1, Phil Jones, will drop back in anticipation of this Mike McTagg punt on 3rd and 16.
Head coach Gary Durchik has not been too thrilled with Mike McTagg's punting in the preseason. Said Roy Kurtz would be available if Mike didn't sharpen up.
Oh, that's a pretty good boot. This one goes to Jones at his 9-yard line. And he hangs on to the ball as he snowed under at the 14. But again, Ottawa will start in not very good field position, trailing 4-0 with 1:49 left to play in this opening quarter. A 41-yard boot with good height by Mike McTagg and but a 5-yard return by Phil Jones. Ottawa has done nothing offensively, which will drive this man to complete distraction, Joe Moss. And he said he is not going to wait very long. If JC doesn't get it going, Tom Burgess from Colgate will get the second shot. He swings that pass out very neatly for a gain of about 9 yards. Mark Barouse was there to make the reception for Ottawa.
He was their leading receiver in the preseason schedule, and this is the typical run and shoot offense that they like. The slot back just swings out while everybody else clears out downfield. If the linebackers drop off, they dump it to the slot back as they did to Mark Barouse, and that's excellent yardage on first down.
Ottawa really has a mini core of receivers. The biggest one is Stu Fraser at 5'10". This is Lester Brown. You know, Lester was cut earlier this year by Ottawa, but because of an imbalance in their import Canadian ratio, they brought him back to be the running back. And it was a great testament, I thought, by Joe Moss. He said, I have never seen Lester Brown play a bad game. I've seen him play some great games, but I've never seen him play a bad one.
Well, that's all you can ask for, and they keep trying to get rid of Lester throughout the CFL, but he always surfaces and does a fine job.
So it is first down for Ottawa. JC's pass is no good. The rookie Steve Benjamin was all over the intended receiver Reggie Butts, number 29.
Well, this is what I talked about in our opening. The Montreal Alouettes would like to be able to play some more man-to-man defense this year, and a good example of it right there was the work by Steve Benjamin, number 2, against 29 Reggie Butts. On him really well. J.C. Watts put the ball in the only spot he could, low and away, but still good coverage. Watch Steve Benjamin right over the top. Excellent play.
So it's 2nd and 10, Ottawa. The ball at their 26. Ball is loose. Not any longer, however. The Alouettes, Steve Rocky has recovered at number 99, along with Brett Williams. And that happens on the final play of the first quarter. The Montreal Alouettes have the football. They also have the lead, 4-0. We'll return with the second quarter in a moment. We're back to start the second quarter of play from Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Montreal leading the Rough Riders 4-0 after the fumble recovery on first down. Alan Reed is the ball carrier, and he picks up a couple against that tough Ottawa defensive alignment. The Rough Riders, as you can tell by the statistical story, are very fortunate to only be down by 4. 90 yards for Montreal, just 27 for Ottawa. Look at the turnovers. 3 by the Rough Riders, none by the Alouettes.
Well, it hasn't really hurt them yet.
However, how many times will Montreal knock at the door without it being open? Let's watch right now on 2nd down and 8. Barnes very wisely elected to go down because right in his face was the safety, Phil Jones.
You know, Ottawa in a way was pretty lucky there because although they succeeded with the safety blitz, Phil Jones took an awfully long time to get there, and Joe Barnes did have time to get the ball away. Just good coverage, really. So they dodge another bullet.
Gentlemen, you'll be interested to notice that Tom Burgess has warmed up on the sidelines, and when Ottawa gets the ball back, there's some question here whether or not he will have control of the Riders' offense.
Well, if you ask for the fans' vote right now, I'll guarantee you that he'll be in charge of the offense. However, Joe Moss is calling the shots. We'll wait and see. Ooh. Jones would have liked to have seen that ball bounce into the end zone to give Ottawa some field position, but instead it bounced back and out of bounds at the 8-yard line, and as a result, Ottawa again is in trouble.
Well, you can tell by the reaction who's coming back in at quarterback.
I thought it was interesting when Dan Matheson mentioned that Tom Burgess was warming up. I could just envision J.C. and Burgess wrestling to see who was going to come out. But Joe Moss called the shots, and he said, I want the experienced guy there. You know, I'll bet you if this ball was up around the 40-yard line, you might have seen Tom Burgess.
That's a good point.
Ottawa starting again inside their 10-yard line. The give is to Lester Brown, and Lester just dives his way out over the 15 to about the 17-yard line. He was finally brought down by Brian Dudley, the defensive halfback, who is a rookie with the Alouettes, number 15 from Bethune-Cookman.
Well, this is when you really check out your offensive line, because you're backed up on a slippery field and you really don't want to have to throw the football. J.C. Watts has not had success, and that time they did a pretty good job. Got 9 yards, find themselves 2nd and 1.
With the ball at the Ottawa 17-yard line. And again, this is Lester. And Lester fights his way to the 20-yard line for a first down for the Rough Riders. Lamont Jeffers, number 72, the sophomore from Tennessee, the linebacker, was there to bring him down.
Well, I like J.C.'s call. He ran the same play twice. They got a first down. Number 51, the left guard, Peter Vandenbos, came across and threw a nice block, springing him free.
Well, if Lester can, you know, maintain his health and his breath here, I'd keep giving him the ball, because it appears to be the most successful play they have in their offense at this point. They fake the draw to Lester on that occasion. Watts throws, and this one is caught by Mark Barus. And Barus is out of bounds, but not before he picks up a big 39 yards. And all of a sudden, J.C. Watts is again everybody's favorite.
Well, Mark Barus runs a perfect pattern there. He just splits the seam, and I think really number 2, Steve Benjamin, got caught up in his own coverage. Reggie Butts broke to the out. Benjamin bit, and Mark Barus was able to sneak in behind him. That's his own coverage, and the young guy Benjamin made a mistake. Nice catch, nice play.
Ottawa with possession at the Montreal 51-yard line. First down. This is Lester Brown. And Lester gets inside the 50 to about the 47-yard line. Brett Williams, number 71, the right defensive tackle, was there to bring him down.
The toaster, they call him. He's got 2 jobs this year. Play that defensive tackle, and he gets to play on his short yardage on offense and maybe even carry the football.
Right, and that's why he calls himself the toaster, because I can burn them on both sides, he said.
Burn them on both sides. Well, I like it. You know, we need some colorful stuff in the game, and boy, if this is the kind of thing that'll do it, I'm all for it. Boy, Perry's made a fortune out of it, the fridge.
Well, Brett would like to Brett would like to hang on to his job as much as anything else, I think. Sometimes in the CFL, that's tough.
Endorsing fridges is a little better than toasters, though, I think.
It is 2nd down and 7 yards to go, Ottawa. J.C. throws it away while he was in the grasp, and they will rule that the ball is dead, where Sandy Armstrong, number 81, had his arms wrapped around the Ottawa quarterback.
Well, they've had good pressure on J.C. Watts in this first half, and Sandy Armstrong, as Pat mentioned, got the pressure and the sack that time. He and Doug Scott have switched positions this year. Last year, Sandy Armstrong was a defensive end, Doug Scott a tackle. They have switched. They feel Doug Scott, with his speed, has a little better containment. Sandy Armstrong, with his strength, a little better pass rush straight up the middle.
So on 3rd down and 12 yards to go, Ken Clark is in the ball game. He hangs this one high. It's a good punt. And this is Kerry Taylor. Taylor, I think, is a great addition to the Alouettes. He can catch the football. He's great on punt returns and kickoffs, and he gives Montreal possession at their 21-yard line. Alouettes lead it 4-0. We'll be back in just a moment.
You're a young kid.
The concern on the Ottawa bench as concerns their offense is not J.C. Watts, the receivers right now. It's the offensive line, and that was the part of the game they thought they had got straightened away in the preseason game against Hamilton. The run and shoot is very tough on offensive linemen. They must be very coordinated. Right now they're going back over blocking assignments.
Thank you, Dan. Incidentally, number 37 is Matt Finley, who was called for holding on that punt return by the Alouettes. So now they're backed up inside their 10-yard line at the 7. It is first down, Montreal. Joe Barnes and the offense have played well, but they haven't put the ball in the end zone yet.
This is a fun place to play defense, too. You know they've got to run the football. You can just stick your nose in there and try and plug them up. And you know if you do a good job, you're going to get the ball back in great shape for your offense.
And that was Dan Huckluck carrying the ball for another 5-yard gain for Montreal as he gets it out over the 10 to about the 12-yard line. Incidentally, on the Kerry Taylor return, Ken Gianconi was down and was helped off the field. However, it did not appear to be that Achilles tendon that he had so seriously hurt last year. Look at Alan Reed. He's diving over people, hurdling the line, gets it out over the 20 to the 21. Darrell Nicholson finally brings him down, but it's another Alouette first down.
Oh, he just did a great job. That play was designed to go around the end, but he saw the opening and the good pursuit of the Ottawa defense, so he just cut it right back. A north-south runner, and that's a big first down when you're backed up.
Alouettes playing with a lot of enthusiasm on offense.
Well, you know, Alan Reed's a real story. Dwayne Wilson was their star running back for a couple of years, and he just knocked him out of a job.
Well, this is the big guy, Dan Huckluck, and Huckluck sure appears in mid-season form as he crosses the 25 to about the 27-yard line, and he'll have another 5 yards. He's carried the ball 3 times, each time for 5 yards.
Well, in their scheme of things, they need a Canadian fullback, a big, strong guy, and Dan Huckluck's the guy. Of course, Tony John's injured, as we mentioned earlier, and he's an exciting young second-year player that you'll see later on this season, I'm sure.
And when he comes back healthy, he'll be as good as anybody at that position. Barnes' pass was very nearly picked off by Chris Ziegler, and Ottawa would have loved that.
Joe shaking his head. He knows he's had a couple that have really kind of sailed on him, and each time it's because he has thrown off his back foot.
Well, there's Joe talking it over with the Montreal staff on the sidelines. So Reggie Butts, number 29, and Phil Jones, number 1, drop back to await this punt from Mike McTagg.
Reggie Butts with the Jacksonville Bulls in the USFL all of the 1985 season.
Butts from his 43-yard line, and he finds a bit of an opening and gets it up very close to midfield. So Ottawa's going to have very good field position when they put the ball in play when we come back in just a moment. Halftime show, because we'll show you what's happened in the CFL this week, and we'll have the Pacific Western Stars of the Week. Today we're going to introduce you to a star of yesteryear who has joined the panel in selecting the Pacific Western Offensive Star of the Week. I'm referring to Dave Ramey, the great running back with Winnipeg and Toronto. Doug Mitchell will ask the commissioner to explain some things for us. It's a weekly feature that I know you're going to enjoy. It's all coming your way at halftime. Lester Brown. Lester crosses midfield, but right on his back was William Mitchell. And as a result, his gain is limited to about 2 yards.
William Mitchell's an interesting story. Bob Obilovich, the head coach of the Argonauts, really did not feel that William Mitchell had an outstanding season at all in 1985, although he was selected an Eastern All-Star. Became a free agent. Not a heck of a lot of interest until just during training camp he signed a contract with the Alouettes, and they're very happy to have him say he has played well.
Second down, 7 yards to go. J.C. Watts' pass is caught. Oh, a sensational grab by Mark Barousse. Excuse me, was that Reggie? It was 29 and not 9.
Reggie Butts made the catch, and you know what? That receiving core is so short, he really had to go high for this ball. Number 29, only 5'9", but makes an outstanding catch. Pretty good coverage supplied by Steve Benjamin.
The pickup was 13 yards. It is first down. Ottawa, the ball at the Montreal 39. This is Lester Brown. Oh, and Lester was met by a horde of Alouettes as he got back to the original line of scrimmage. William Mitchell was one of the ones there. So too was Lamont Jeffers, 31 and 72. And then just for fun, Sandy Armstrong at 6'2 and 240. He dropped by to say hello and was joined by Paul Gray, number 42, at 6'2 and 232.
The big guys like to jump on the pile, don't they?
So it's second down and 10 yards to go. Ottawa, the ball is inside the Montreal 40-yard line. Alouettes lead at 4-0. JC's pass for Baruch is right on the money. And Baruch steps out of bounds at the 8-yard line. Well, you can't throw it much better than that. J.C. Watts, the much maligned Oklahoma Sooner quarterback, fires this one to Mark Baruch from McNeese State, and watch it.
An excellent catch by Mark Baruch. He just gets in behind number 50, the rookie Brian Dudley, number 15, make that. And boy, Ottawa has put together a nice drive here in the second quarter, and do they ever need it to calm down these fans?
It is first down. Goal to go. Ottawa, the ball at the Montreal 7-yard line. Touchdown, J.C. Watts. They were booing him a minute ago. They're cheering him now. He could not find anyone open.
Watch the move on number 72, Lamont Jeffers, right there. He just stops him dead in his tracks and waltzes into the end zone. The Rough Riders take the lead.
And since Dean Dorsey doesn't miss very often, he didn't miss all of last year, it's safe to assume that Ottawa will have a 3-point advantage, and they do, with 6 minutes and 5 seconds left to play in this first half.
This is the quality that you really want in your quarterback in the CFL. When things don't look right, take that football and run with it. An excellent move to get himself into the end zone.
Ottawa 7, Montreal 4. We'll be back with the Rough Rider kickoff in just a moment. Sounds of professional sport. They were booing J.C. Watts 5 minutes ago, and then everybody cheered him because Ottawa now leads at 7-4. As Dean Dorsey's kickoff will be handled by Kerry Taylor from his 23-yard line. And he picks his way out very close to the 40, which is where Joe Barnes and that Montreal Alouette offense will go to work. Mike Hudson was down to make the tackle on behalf of the Ottawa Rough Riders. It's amazing, though, isn't it, Leaf? Montreal was so impressive offensively, but yet they couldn't put the ball in the end zone.
Well, they've had their opportunities in the turnover department that Ottawa has given them. They just really haven't taken advantage. And finally, when you don't, doesn't it always seem that the other team comes back? And such has been the case with Ottawa.
Barnes throws. Mike McKay coming across the middle makes the reception and gets to about the 46-yard line, which will be a pickup of 6 before Rick Sovieta laid a pretty good lick on him. Incidentally, this is what J.C. Watts has done. In the first quarter, he was 3 out of 6 for a total of 16 yards, and he had 2 interceptions. In the second quarter, as you look at number 6, he was 3 for 3 for 83 yards. So his totals at this point, 6 for 9, 99 yards, 2 interceptions, but he scored the touchdown, and his club leads 7-4. Ottawa jumped the gun. They will blow the whistle because there must have been contact made, and Ottawa, I would think, will be called for offside unless they were pulled off.
Well, I think our viewers at home could almost hear Joe Barnes' voice. He gave it that little extra hut at the line, and Lloyd Lewis, number 76, was almost in the backfield. You know, the referees can call that if they feel like he's really doing something extra special in his voice to try and draw the other team offside. Tom Wilkinson used to be the best that I ever saw doing that.
It's a procedure penalty against Montreal. So
let's see who they call it on.
Greg Marshall shaking hands with referee Jacques Decarry.
Procedure, Montreal 67, offside, Ottawa, 2nd down over.
Okay, Trevor Bowles, the right tackle, obviously came up out of his stance. And then did he call Lloyd Lewis, number 76, outside?
Well, Joe yelled that hut so loud he probably scared big old Trevor Bowles.
So they'll simply replay the down. It is 2nd down, 4 yards to go. Alouettes at their 46-yard line. The pass is complete to Jacques Chapdelaine, and he has the first down. Ottawa converged on him very quickly. Ricky Barton and Darrell Hall, 25 and 24. But Chapdelaine had the first down.
For those of you not too familiar with Jacques Chapdelaine, he has been in the CFL for 4 seasons. 2 of those with the BC Lions. In fact, he started in the 1983 Grey Cup with BC, the game in which the Toronto Argonauts won.
I remember we're running into him in an elevator one day last year. He was very discouraged because he saw such limited playing time. But he's got to be happy tonight. He's having a good game, and he's getting lots of action. Ooh, a good lick put on Kerry Taylor, but the little guy maintained his balance and got to the Ottawa 45-yard line for another Montreal first down. And now that offense, which sputtered early in the second quarter after being so impressive in the first 15 minutes, is rolling again.
Good hit coming up by 24, Darryl Hall, the cornerback, but he doesn't get those arms around and wrap up, as every coach will tell you. And Kerry Taylor, very durable slot back, just bounces off and keeps going.
And picks up 14 yards. The ball is actually spotted at the Ottawa 44. First down, Montreal. They trail by 3 points. Here comes the blitz. And the ball was batted down at the line of scrimmage by number 79, Jeff Roberts. Phil Jones was coming on that safety blitz. It was neatly picked up, but I think that Barnes saw him coming as well and may have hurried that throw a little bit.
Oh, he sure did, Pat, and you called it perfectly. But Jeff Roberts got those big mitts up, and he was trying to hit Mike McTagg, but no way when you get the hands up. 6'3". By the time he stretches out, he's well over 10 feet and a little too tough to throw over.
Remember, we saw him play his first game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It was as impressive a debut as you'll ever see. It was against Winnipeg, as I recall. Barnes on second down has Chapdelaine wide open. Oh, a nice move, and he'll go the distance for the touchdown. Oh, what a beautiful pass and run play. Joe Barnes to Jacques Chapdelaine for 44 yards and the touchdown, but just some brilliant open field running by the Montreal wide receiver.
And that's a good as throw as Joe Barnes has made in this first half. Found Jacques Chapdelaine in the open area, cross field, a nice pass and run play, 44 yards, and once again Montreal Alouettes take the lead.
Well, every game in the CFL that has been played in this first week has been outstanding. I was hoping that Ottawa and Montreal could perform equally well. Now it seems that they are getting their offenses into high gear, and we could be in for another great one. As Roy Kurtz will try the point after, it is good. As we'll take one more look at how Jacques Chapdelaine was able to get wide open.
Well, nothing overly fancy about this play. Let a few things clear out in the zone and then just find the open spot. He does. Joe Barnes reads it, and we got 6 points.
And we also have a Montreal lead for the second time in the ball game. They're out in front of Ottawa, 11-7. We'll be back with the Owls kickoff in a moment. Well, the Montreal Alouettes are ready to kick it away. Interesting to note that young man Reggie Butts, number 29, is back along with Glenn Steele. Steele, the former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, is outstanding on kickoff returns. If the ball goes to him, he'll remind you so much of former Ottawa great Ronnie Stewart. It'll be unbelievable. But he won't get a chance. It comes to Butts at the 14-yard line. Well, a very fortunate thing for the Alouettes that Steve Benjamin was there to cut down the corner, because otherwise, had Reggie Butts got outside of him, he was gone. A 30-yard return as we go to Dan Matheson.
Well, we've just seen Reggie Butts look outstanding, and of course he's played rather well for the Ottawa Roughriders all game. That great series where they went down to score looked very impressive, but J.C. Watts had a long talk with both Butts and the other rookie wide receiver, Mark Lewis, because apparently both big plays did not go to the intended receivers.
Interesting. Thank you, Dan. First down, Ottawa at the 42, quickly to Fraser, and it is picked up. However, there is a penalty marker on the field. Stu Fraser had the ball go right through his hands. There's a penalty marker on the field. The penalty appears to be against Ottawa for offside, and if it is, Montreal will have possession on Ottawa's side of midfield. Here's the call.
Ineligible receiver, Ottawa number 15, which is declined. First down, 15.
That means that Stu Fraser lined up inside the wide receiver, Mark Lewis. He was ineligible. Miles Darling comes up with the interception. And again, the Alouettes, who have just scored a touchdown, are back in Ottawa territory.
Miles Darling played 7 games with the Alouettes last year, and at 6'3", 200, certainly has the physical size, and made a nice alert play to get that interception.
Barnes fires over the middle. McTagg could not hang on. He was hit by Rick Sovieta and coughed up the football just when it appeared as though he had made the catch.
You know, a lot of people will say, well, it was right in his hands. He should have made that play. But, you know, Mike McTagg really did an outstanding job as he was in the air trying to catch the body and turn in midair to shield himself for the hit. Rick Sovieta just did a good job sticking that helmet in there.
My initial impression was that he didn't have to jump, but he may...
Sometimes you have to jump because you really want to get up and cradle that ball because you know you're going to get hit and you have no choice.
So it's 2nd down and 10 yards to go. Montreal at the Ottawa 53. Barnes fires over the middle to Mike McTagg. But that time he thought he had the catch and felt that he fumbled it after the catch, and he subsequently recovered it, but that will not be the call. They will rule incomplete forward pass.
Well, Mike, I bailed you out the first time, but not this one. You should have had that catch. Chris Ziegler does come in, however, and break it up, but you've got to hang on to those footballs.
So with 2 minutes and 41 seconds, the Alouettes failed to capitalize on the interception that they came up with just moments ago by Miles Darling.
Was that the 3rd interception they've had tonight?
Well, how many have they had? Montreal, how many interceptions?
Yeah, Mitchell's had one, Terry Irvin's had one, and now Miles Darling with the 3rd.
Mike McTagg to Phil Jones at the 7-yard line. And Jones puts his head down and gets to the 14.
Well, Joe's had 6 months to get that blood pressure down as he sends J.C. Watts back into the game. I think early in the first quarter, it got right back up there again, though.
Joe Moss, we're talking about the head coach of the Ottawa Rough Riders. You know, he's such an intense man, but he's as intense as he is, he's a very solid citizen type of guy. I mean, I've known Joe since he came to Canada. I don't know how many years ago it was, 15 or whatever. He actually played here in Ottawa for 1 year back in 1955 or 56.
He was an assistant coach when I played for the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Jim Eddy was the head coach. I'm sure fans across the CFL remember Jim Eddy. But Joe was always a pretty good guy, liked by the players, and I'm sure his players in Ottawa like him. Gary Durchik, well, he finds himself in his first full year as head coach of the Alouettes. Took over partway through last year from Joe Galat, who has since moved up to the title of general manager of the Alouettes. And boy, I like Gary Durchik and just wish nothing but good things to happen to him.
Yeah, he's a great guy, too. It's really, I can't think of a coach in the CFL that we haven't had just the greatest cooperation from. They've been just super to us.
Well, they do their best, and they know as well as anybody that they have to promote the game, and they do their best.
The injured Montreal Alouette is Matt Finley, who goes in on those special teams. Finley limps off the field, but fortunately under his own steam. We've got 2 minutes and 32 seconds left to play in this first half. Montreal leads Ottawa 11-7.
Matt Finley was Montreal's first choice in the draft this year, went to Eastern Michigan, and will probably find himself playing those special teams this year and trying to get some experience that way.
And it'll be interesting to see whether or not the Riders go back to the run to stop that Montreal pass rush, because they've been eating up that front five so far tonight.
Well, the last time they were in this position, Dan, they picked up a first down with Lester Brown running twice in a row.
Makes it tough, though, if you can't get the quarterback to handle the pass from center cleanly. Fortunately, Lester was able to pick up the ball. Ottawa did not lose possession, but they did lose yardage. But Dan was right on the money. They were going to run it to Lester to see if they couldn't get out of a deep hole that they once again find themselves. Second down, 12 yards to go, Ottawa. They're backed up now at their 11-yard line. JC gets a really important first down out to the 35-yard line. William Mitchell finally brought him down, number 31. But that was a very important run by J.C. Watts.
Well, we told you Montreal might play a little more man-to-man tonight. That time they did, and when that happens, sometimes the middle can open like the Red Sea. It did, and J.C. Watts took full advantage of it.
and got the ball out to the 34-yard line for a 22-yard pickup. Make it first down, Ottawa. JC over the middle. Oh, should have been caught. Mark Lewis doing a little post pattern in there. Just lost his concentration, obviously, although somebody did jump in front of him.
Well, it was the middle linebacker, number 42, Paul Gray, and J.C. Watts just made a perfect throw, one of the best throws he's made in this first half. But number 5, Mark Lewis, just couldn't hang on. Paul Gray, the leader on that Montreal defense last year in tackles, and that's what your middle linebacker is supposed to do.
Mark Lewis, incidentally, caught 75 passes in the USFL last season to be the 5th highest reception leader in that league.
With the Denver Gold last year.
Ball was thrown behind the intended receiver, Stu Fraser.
Isn't that funny? JC, the last one to Mark Lewis, I mean, just threw a bullet. Perfect pass. That one, a real stinker to Stu Fraser.
So Kerry Taylor, number 20, the former Toronto Argonaut, and Jeff Treflin, number 29, the former Edmonton Eskimo, will drop back to receive this punt from Ken Clark, who has played in the National Football League, the World Football League, the Canadian Football League.
Played with Portland.
Yeah.
Punted in a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. Kenny's done it all. 13-year veteran from St. Mary's.
This one bounces to Taylor, who has trouble and is back to his 20-yard line now. And gets it back to the 30-yard line. I'll tell you what I'm impressed with tonight. There have been so many penalties in early CFL games. This one has been pretty free of it.
That sure has.
Only 5 penalties in this first half. That has 1:26 to go. And next week, the Toronto Argonauts, who really scored a big, surprising 21-20 victory over the Hamilton Ticats last night, will be the visitors at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal to play the Alouettes, and we'll have it for you on the CFL on CTV next Friday night. Flag is down. Barnes' pass is caught by Jacques Chapdelaine, and it may have been in vain. Let's wait and see what the penalty marker is. It's holding against the Alouettes. Chris Ziegler really laid a lick on him.
You had to go and start talking about penalties.
I feel like Joe Blitzflitz, the guy with the cloud over his head.
Speaking of the Toronto Argonauts, nice to see Steve Cox get a touchdown last night. Had so many injury problems last year, but now back and healthy.
Holding Montreal, number 51. First down repeated.
That's Bob Lubick, the right guard. Also nice to see Lance Chomick come through with all those field goals, because there are many people who have been critical of Lance, but he certainly came through for them last night. I believe he had 4 field goals. It is first down. Montreal. The ball is at their 20-yard line. Barnes' pass over Mike McTagg's head, and they were extremely fortunate that Phil Jones didn't come up with the interception. He may have hurt his arm on the play and appears to have done so.
You know what I've really noticed the last few seasons, Pat? The linebacking in the CFL is so good. These fellas are so big and so quick. They get back in those drops so quickly that the quarterbacks seem to just have to throw that ball a little higher to get it over them. And we've really seen that tonight. That throw by J.C. Watts over Paul Gray. And now that last one by Joe Barnes into Mike McTagg. He had to throw it just a little higher than he normally wanted to.
Excuse me. I was just going to say there's 1:14 left to play in this first half. Montreal 11, Ottawa 7. Second down, Alouettes from their 20. Knocked away neatly by Darrell Hall. He felt that he might be able to make the interception. It was intended for James Hood. But Hall, who's only a little guy at 5'10", went high in the air and knocked it away.
Well, it's the second time that Joe Barnes just hasn't been able to get enough on the football, because you can see number 80 James Hood was just standing there all alone waiting for the ball to come in, and number 24 Darrell Hall made an outstanding play. Earlier, Lamont Meacham was the one who knocked the desperation pass away.
So Mike McTagg is back into punt for Montreal with 1:07 showing on the clock. Ottawa has Phil Jones and Reggie Butts, numbers 1 and 29 respectively, back as you take a good look at the Montreal punter, Mike McTagg. This is Butts right at midfield. Well, Reggie forgot the cardinal rule for punt returners. Go north and south. Forget the east-west stuff. Paul Gray was there to bring him back after a loss of about 6 yards. So now with under a minute left to play, Ottawa has the ball at its own 50-yard line. They're trailing by 4 points. Montreal 11, Ottawa 7. Mark Lewis, number 5, is split to the bottom of your screen, and at the top is Reggie Butt. This one is right into Paul Gray's hands, but he wasn't able to make the interception. He had to be so surprised to see the easy interception that he dropped it.
Well, I think, quite honestly, he really was surprised. As he turned around, the ball was right there, and he should have had it.
It was intended for Lewis, number 5.
Once again, a deep drop, though. He was back almost 15 yards. And if there's one feature about the CFL, the linebacking is outstanding on every team.
The flag goes down, and so too does J.C. Watts in the arms of Steve Rocky, number 99. A holding will be the penalty against Ottawa. It'll be declined by the Alouettes with 48 seconds showing on the clock.
Holding Ottawa number 65, which is declined. Third down.
Roger Catalan, who just signed a new contract with the Rough Riders this week, the right offensive tackle, number 65, is called for holding.
Well, as the clock starts ticking down towards 45 seconds, Montreal still has their one timeout remaining in this half, so they will have some time to try and at least maybe get a field goal.
Ken Clark's punt is handled by Kerry Taylor at the 21-yard line. And he's chased back to his own 18. And so excited about that was number 34, Steve Harrison, who was down quickly to help in that tackle. 44 yards the boot, -3 on the return. And so with 30 seconds to go in this first half of play, the Montreal Alouettes will start from inside their 20-yard line. All right, will they play it safe? We've only got 30 seconds to kill, or will Joe put it up and let's see if he can move it downfield?
I'll tell you after this play.
Okay. Put it up, Joe.
I think he probably will. He's got a triple formation set out to the right. That's usually a passing indication. Sure.
And that's why Alan Reed is the ball carrier. And that's what the Ottawa defense thought when they saw the trips formation. And Reed gets out to the 35 before Phil Jones brought him down. And it was a good thing that Phil Jones didn't miss that tackle, because with the speed of Alan Reed, he'd have been standing in the end zone.
Well, now that they've picked up that first down, Joe's into the hurry-up offense.
A gain of 17 yards, first down, and he'll be throwing this time. Well, he wanted to throw, but the Ottawa secondary did an outstanding job, and after what appeared to be about 10 seconds in the arms of Greg Marshall, Joe Barnes was sacked back at the 31. The 4th time that defensive unit of the Rough Riders have gotten to the Montreal quarterback.
I believe that's Greg Marshall's second sack also of this first half.
So now with 17 seconds, you'll probably see Alan Reed or Dan Huckluck, the ball carrier. Because why take a chance right now? They're second down and about 15 yards to go. And the give is to Huckluck. And he puts his head down, and that does it. First half comes to an end with the Montreal Alouettes out in front of the Ottawa Rough Riders, 11-7.
I'd like to invite everyone to stay with us for our halftime, when we will feature the CFL this week. A review of what happened in the league this past offseason. A new feature this year, Ask the Commissioner. Doug Mitchell is here. The Pacific Western Airlines Stars of the Week. And, of course, Leaf will be back with his analysis and highlights from the first half. Just before we get our halftime features underway, I'd like to remind you that Friday night is your night to watch the Canadian Football League on CTV. You only miss a couple of Fridays all season long. I'd like to invite you to join us. Right now, what we'd like to do with the season just getting underway is look back over the past few months and see how the CFL teams have been gearing up, getting ready for the 1986 season. In Vancouver, the champions are back, but without their Dallas-bound GM.
It has been a, exciting 34 years for me. I've really enjoyed the time that I've spent here with the BC Lions and in Vancouver and British Columbia in particular. And it's difficult to leave, but I think it's a great opportunity and it's a great challenge.
In Calgary, off-season energy was mainly devoted to just keeping the franchise alive. The club needed season ticket sales to battle financial woes. They must continue to put people in the seats, but the priority now is the product on the field. The Edmonton Eskimos were third in the West last year. They have done some minor tinkering. The big news was a new general manager. Mind you, Huey Campbell is a familiar face. He coached the Eskies to all those Grey Cups. The Saskatchewan Roughriders traded running back Craig Ellis to Toronto. But they have their fingers crossed that they can sign local hero, their #1 draft choice, Reuben Mays of North Battleford. He's a tremendous talent, but may opt for the National Football League. He has been a big hit in U.S. college football, rewriting the record book at Washington State. In the Winnipeg camp, the Blue Bombers' big thinkers have two very large holes to fill. Wide receiver Jeff Boyd has gone to the Cleveland Browns. And veteran center John Bonk has finally retired, victim of recurring injuries. And that is what happened in the West this season. The clubs in the East weren't idle either. And we want to start in Montreal, where the new Concords are gone and the old Alouettes are back. That does look familiar, doesn't it? The Montreal Alouette logo. And while Nick Araki will be badly missed, hopes are high that their new president and part owner, Norm Kimball, can do in Montreal what he did in Edmonton. In Ottawa, the Riders were looking for help on their offensive line. They won't get it from #1 pick Mike Shadd. With time, J.C. Watts can get the job done, and he is #1, though rookie Tom Burgess looked terrific in preseason and gives the Riders cause for optimism. Ralph Sazio now has company in the front office in Toronto. Leo Cahill is back for his third stint with the Argonauts. And like the Riders, the Double Blue had an exciting young quarterback look good in preseason, David Bates. But Condredge Holloway is #1 and healthy again. They've been the best in the East the past 2 years, and the Hamilton defense will have to be good. The offense will miss Rocky DiPietro. But to add fuel to the fire, an anonymous donor has put up the Harold Ballard Trophy to the winner of the season series between Hamilton and Toronto. So it's the same old CFL, but with some new wrinkles in every city around the league, and everybody's all cranked up for the 1986 season. One more game this weekend to tell you about. The Calgary Stampeders are in Regina on Sunday. You can watch that game CTV West only. Check your local listings. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. Our halftime will continue in just a moment.
Come on over to CFL on Channel 6, Sunday afternoon at 2.
It brings you the Stars of the Week in the CFL. Each week, outstanding performances in offensive, defensive, and lineman categories will be recognized. In 1985, top awards went to defensive back Harry Skipper of Montreal. His 31 points edged out runners-up Paul Bennett and Darnell Clash. Tiger Cats Grover Covington starred in the lineman category with 3 first-place selections. And versatile Matt Dunnigan of the Edmonton Eskimos won the Offensive Star of the Year title, narrowly defeating quarterback Piers, Hamilton's Ken Hobart, and Roy DeWalt of the BC Lions. CFL Commissioner Doug Mitchell.
The Canadian Football League is pleased to have Pacific Western Airlines involved in its Stars of the Week program for the 2nd consecutive year. Winners in the lineman, offensive, and defensive categories will each receive an Inuit sculpture and a ticket for 2 to any one of Pacific Western Airlines' 40 domestic destinations. Stars of the Year winners will receive a trip for 2 to any one of Pacific Western Airlines' Sun destinations. We're pleased to welcome back 2 of our last year's judges, Peter Mueller and also Ellison Kelly, and they join with newcomer Dave Ramey, a former All-Canadian CFL All-Star and a 10-year veteran. We welcome Dave's vast knowledge and experience in the Canadian Football League, and to all of the players in the 1986 season, the best of luck in the CFL Stars of the Week.
Tonight, CTV Profile launches the 1986 Stars of the Week campaign. Dave Ramey had 10 outstanding seasons in the CFL, earning All-Canadian All-Star recognition as a running back in 1966 with Winnipeg and 1969 as an Argonaut. Now living in Toronto and working in the insurance business, Dave with wife Melody take great pride in son Ryan and daughter Robin, a pre-med student at the University of Michigan. Judging CFL Stars of the Week is a welcome opportunity for Dave to give something back to the game.
More than excited about getting in at this level, because this is really the level that I wanted to get in at, to be a part of the CFL, Canadian Football League. To get in at that level is even more exciting for me. I am very pleased, yeah, seriously.
After a brilliant college career, Dave was a first-round selection of the Cleveland Browns. He played with football greats Paul Warfield and Jim Brown. Watching the development of Canadian football talent has been gratifying for Dave.
Canadian kids now are very prepared. They have to me, some really great programs in some of the universities. In fact, quite a few of the guys that I played with and against are in some of the Canadian universities now and putting in, some of these programs for the kids there. The Canadian kids are very well prepared now.
Dave Ramey, a welcome addition to the Stars of the Week program. This Stars of the Week profile has been brought to you by Pacific Western Airlines, serving over 40 Canadian destinations. This is CTV's Friday Night Football.
For many years, the Canadian Football League has provided telecast time so that our players can talk about the work done across Canada by United Way agencies. Many CFL players have participated because they know that United Ways and Sontreds solve problems for people in their own communities. And it's people who make the difference. United Way volunteers and United Way contributors. Thanks to you, it works for all of us.
We are back in the nation's capital, Lansdowne Stadium, halftime. The Ottawa Rough Riders and the Montreal Alouettes. I'd like to tell you about a new halftime feature we have on CTV. You, the fan, get to write in and put questions to the head man in the Canadian Football League, Commissioner Doug Mitchell. We call it Ask the Commissioner. For those of you who wish to write in and put some tough questions and we happen to pick them, you will get a rather nice prize, the official CFL Spalding J5D football. Doug Mitchell joins us now. We have a question from Eric Ingram from Edmonton, Alberta. He's a little bit concerned about shortening down the preseason to only 2 games. Do you share his concerns?
I don't think so, Dan. I think it's a very positive move. We played 20 games last year, 4 preseason and 16 regular season games. This year we'll have 2 preseason and 18 regular season games. I think it's a very positive move. Players come to training camp now in condition. They don't have to get themselves ready at training camp, and coaches spend the whole winter preparing. So I think it'll be a very positive move for us.
So we're not concerned about preseason. We get 2 extra regular season games to watch. Once again, here's the address where you can write in.
Well, I couldn't agree more with the commissioner. Boy, I'm so glad that they've eliminated 2 of those preseason games, because now the games are more meaningful. There's a look at the statistical story. Montreal 189 to 147 in total yards. The one thing that jumps out at you, however, turnovers. Ottawa has 4 of them, and the Alouettes haven't had any. That's probably why they're ahead 11-7. Actually, Leaf, though, it's a rather strange football game, because Ottawa should have been blown out in the first half. Certainly in the first quarter, they were trailing 4-0, and then they came back and actually took the lead.
Well, they did, Pat. Giving up 4 turnovers, you think they might be behind by a lot bigger margin than they are, but in fact, they did take the lead early in the second quarter, and it was a couple of great plays by a couple of veteran players. J.C. Watts found number 9, Mark Bruce, who got in behind the rookie number 15, Brian Dudley. Runs the corner pattern. Mark Bruce had an excellent first half, 4 catches for 82 yards. On the ensuing play, J.C. Watts, what you want your quarterback to do. Nothing open downfield. He just takes off, makes a great move on Lamont Jeffers, and they've got a 7-4 lead at this point.
Well, Joe Barnes has only completed 9 of 20 passes, but the ones that he has completed have been impressive.
And they've been high percentage passes. You know, they had a revamp, as we told you earlier. Nick Araki out for the year. Well, they got Kerry Taylor from Toronto, number 20, and in the first half, he's played very well. Bounces off a tackle by Darryl Hall there. Only 14 yards, but really that play might have only gone 6. A good extra effort. A pleasant surprise for them tonight, too, was Jacques Chapdelaine. He had 4 catches for 86 yards, a big touchdown that put them ahead after the second quarter, and at halftime, 11-7.
And so we're ready to go here in the second half of play as the Ottawa Rough Riders return that second half kickoff, number 29 for Ottawa, Reggie Butts was there to bring it back very close to the 45-yard line. We were talking about some of the positive aspects of rule changes. Let me suggest this. The fact that all teams kick off from the 35-yard line to me is a very positive one, because you allow the receiving team to get some instant field position. And now the Ottawa Rough Riders start Tom Burgess, the rookie from Colgate University, at quarterback, and he was given a warm reception as he trotted out onto the field. Burgess is a big fella at 6 feet, 195 pounds. He does the safe thing, tosses it to Lester Brown. Lester was cut down by Miles Darling as he got to about the 49-yard line.
Gentlemen, a couple of points from the sidelines to back up what you were talking about a little bit earlier. Jacques Chapdelaine said that Joe Barnes simply caught the Ottawa defense double-teaming Kerry Taylor on his touchdown. The rest was dirt easy. On the other hand, Jeff Roberts, defensive end for Ottawa, says they are still in this ball game because they have been able to take the middle away from the Alouettes.
And I don't think there's any doubt that they are very much in this ball game, as Burgess' first pass is dropped by Mike Hudson. Boy, those are the killers. The drive stallers are the ones that really do in an offense.
Yeah, I'm not so sure he would have been able to pick up the first down, but nevertheless, he should have made that catch. And, you know, last year he caught 10 balls in one game against these same Montreal Alouettes, which was one short of the club record of 11 catches in a game held by who else? Tony Gabriel.
So Ken Clark will be punting as we open up this third quarter of play. Ottawa trailing at 11-7. And Montreal expecting field position around their 25 or 30-yard line, but Clark gets a good boot away. This is Kerry Taylor back at his 10. And he spins away and gets out to the 18-yard line. That could have been disastrous for Montreal. But down quickly was Shane Ireland, number 37, to make the tackle for Ottawa. And the Alouettes, well, they've got to dig themselves out of a bit of a hole right now because they're hemmed in inside their 20-yard line.
Well, Gary Durchik said that he wanted to run the football approximately 30% of the time. This will be 30% of the time, I think, right now.
Injured Ottawa Rough Rider is Peter Vandenbos. Vandenbos was down on that cover team for the Rough Riders. He's their starting offensive left guard.
Yeah, he blew a knee out last year, too. Only played 7 games for them. So he is certainly doesn't want to get injured early in the year again.
You know, the Montreal Alouettes, strangely enough, as we talked about at the opening of the show, were very good defensively last year, and yet Coach Gary Durchik says that their secondary is better than it was a year ago, and this is game 1. So you figure it out.
There you see Vandenbos going into Kerry Taylor, and you really can't tell what part of his body he injured on that.
It's 11-7. Montreal leads Ottawa, and we'll be back in just a moment. Peter Vandenbos is still being helped off the field. He doesn't know if he's in Empire Stadium, Vancouver, or here at Lansdowne Park. He took a pretty good shot in the head, but I think he'll be back. Hello, Peter. Earth calling Peter. He really...
No, I don't think there's anybody home right now.
No. And we're not making light of Peter because he's a very important part of that offensive alignment of the Ottawa Rough Riders. First down for the Alouettes at their 18-yard line. Alan Reed. And Reed gets it out very close to the 24. There's a penalty marker down back at about the 16-yard line. Offside, Ottawa. Well, they had picked up about 7 yards, so they'll take the penalty and make it first down over again, 5 to go.
Well, when you've got a team backed up deep in their own end, you really don't want to give them any freebies, and especially a penalty like an offside penalty on first down. Joe Barnes obviously will take it, and 2 downs to make 5 is a lot easier than second and whatever.
Offside, Ottawa, number 79. First down repeated.
That's Jeff Roberts, the defensive end from Tulane, who came to Ottawa last year from Saskatchewan. Jumped offside, so make it first down over again for the Montreal Alouettes. The ball is at their 23-yard line. Pass to Chapdelaine is good. And the ball is ripped out of his hands by Lamont Meacham. But correctly, the officials rule that he was down. Gain is 9 yards. Fans don't like it very much. Chapdelain's having a good game. 5 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown.
You know, Pat, I remember seeing him in that Grey Cup game in '83 that I mentioned earlier, and he really looked nervous catching the football. And of course, we didn't see him much last year, but tonight he looked so relaxed as he's looking that football into his hands and then into his body. Made the nice catch and a touchdown, and I'm really impressed with the way he's come along. And boy, they need a Canadian at that outside spot.
Reminds me a little bit of somebody. Reminds me of you a little bit, seriously, when you played. He may be a little bit faster. Would that be
well,
true
he
or
could.
not?
I mean, anybody could be faster than I was. But you know what? And he's not a blazer by any stretch of the imagination. But when you're not, you've got to have good moves and catch that football well. And he certainly displayed that tonight.
It is 2nd down, 5 yards to go. Alouettes, the ball is out at their 38-yard line.
You know, they've had so many problems the last few seasons with wide receivers. It's nice to see them using them tonight.
Barnes' pass complete to Mike McTagg. And again, Joe puts it right on the money. McTagg makes the catch at the 52-yard line. Dan?
They're making some room for Peter Vandenbos on the bench. He is feeling very woozy right now. The word from the trainer is concussion. He has an ice water cloth draped over his neck, and he's just sitting and trying to get it back together.
Well, that's what it appeared to be as he left the field, and you don't fool around with those kind of head injuries. It is 1st down. Montreal, the ball at the 51 after that 15-yard gain. And this is Dan Huckluck. And where Huckluck before was picking up 5 yards at a trip, this time he gets 10. Rick Sovieta, 75, was there to bring him down.
That's a nice balance right now that Joe Barnes is going between the run and the pass. A little draw play. We haven't yet seen a screen by either team tonight. I'm sure in the second half you'll see that because it certainly does complement that passing game, but a draw play just as effective.
I noticed the offensive linemen of the Alouettes are coming back to the huddle a little slower than they were earlier in the game. It's a very humid night here in Ottawa, and I really have sympathy for those big offensive linemen because they have a tendency to lose like tonnage on a night like that.
I know why you have sympathy, because you could be the same size as them. But you know, they're a big group. The Montreal line averages 6'4", 264 pounds. So, you know, you got some heavyweights out there in the field.
It's 1st down and 10. Montreal. The ball is at the Ottawa 49-yard line. Flag is down. Pass is caught by Alan Reed. Reed tried to duck underneath the tacklers, but he is ridden to the turf at the 44-yard line. He'll have a pickup of 5. Ricky Barton made the stop, but the penalty will move the Alouettes back.
Anytime the flag is thrown in that area, you can usually count on a holding call.
Holding Montreal number 66. 1st down repeated.
That's Lloyd Fairbanks, and it was funny, you know, the comment that I was making to you about them walking back slowly. Lloyd Fairbanks really looked to be, you know, exhausted, and I'm sure that in that particular situation, the only thing he could do, because he was tired, was put the clutch on the guy.
Yeah, you couldn't quite see it in your picture there,
No.
but he just pulled down number 79, Jeff Roberts.
So it's 1st and 20, Montreal. The ball at their own 51 now. Setting up the screen. Boy, I'll tell you, was there a lot of traffic around Alan Reed. Joe was a little lucky that that thing wasn't picked off.
Well, you know what? Joe Barnes was unlucky on that call. A screen against a man-to-man defense is really tough, and Rick Sovieta, number 75, that time had 34, Alan Reed, in man-to-man coverage, and he was right there as the ball was delivered.
So it's 2nd down and 20 yards to go. We're early in the 3rd quarter, 11-7. Montreal leads it. And Ottawa fortunate to be only 4 points back. Barnes going deep. And it goes incomplete. Now, James Hood is very upset with the cornerback, Darrell Hall, but they're both entitled to the same turf. And no flag comes down, so Montreal will be punting.
Darrell Hall did an excellent job. And his positioning on James Hood just stayed right on the outside hip there, a little bit ahead, and perfect position.
James Hood is an interesting story because he and Kerry Taylor came aboard just on the weekend, and the Alouettes took some flack from the local media. Hood says he knows this offense. It only took him 3 or 4 days. Kerry Taylor says, I'm not too sure yet, and yet he's the one that's been impressive tonight.
You're right, Dan. He has been impressive running back punts particularly, but he also had a very important 14-yard pass reception that subsequently set up the touchdown by Jacques Chapdelaine. Mike McTagg's punt really hangs there. Phil Jones gets to the 35-yard line and then is snowed under, but it was excellent hang time by Mike McTagg. The Alouettes are leading it by 4 points. We'll be back in just a moment. Number 16 is Tom Burgess. The Rough Riders signed him in March of this year to a 3-year contract. They really think he is the answer to their quarterbacking problems. If not today, then certainly down the line. He holds virtually every passing record at Colgate University. That includes 14 school records. So let's see if Tom Burgess can now translate that into some success in the Canadian Football League. The toss goes to Lester Brown. And Lester gets out to the 42-yard line. A penalty marker is down, and it was thrown at the moment the tackle was made. Holding against Ottawa. So that will negate what was a 7-yard pickup by Lester Brown, and instead of being 2nd and 3, we'll have a 1st and 20.
Holding Ottawa, number 73. First down repeated.
The Ottawa Rough Riders' Mike Hudson was called for holding. So they're pushed back to their own 25-yard line. Montreal leads at 11-7. Ottawa trying to get something going offensively with a rookie quarterback at the controls. Burgess looks and then dumps it off at the last moment. And Lester Brown is there to get over the 30 to the 32-yard line before Paul Gray, the middle linebacker, number 42, was there to haul him down.
Well, Tom Burgess impressed the coaching staff in preseason against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He took the team down the field nicely, threw a touchdown pass to Mark Bruce, and I think that's what won him the backup job to J.C. Watson, getting an opportunity tonight in the first league game to show what he's got.
Well, it tells you, though, that Joe Moss obviously can't be happy with J.C. Watts, because to throw a rookie into a football game that you're only trailing by 4 is all you have to know. Burgess' pass was very nearly picked off by the cornerback, Steve Benjamin. He was looking for his wide receiver, Reggie Butts, but he overthrew him badly. Now, I didn't know if Butts broke off that pattern or what happened.
Well, you can't tell. I mean, I don't know what their pass patterns are, but certainly miscommunication in a ball that should not have been thrown, because Steve Benjamin had a pretty good shot to pick that off. But that's a rookie mistake. You see it all the time when you throw them in there.
So we'll take a look at Ken Clark in action as Jeff Treflin, number 29, and Kerry Taylor, number 20, drop back to return for Montreal. You got it! Ooh, very close to being blocked, but what a punt. Taylor is all the way back to his 23. And good coverage by that Ottawa unit as they contain him at the 30-yard line. We've got 8 minutes, 8 seconds left to play in the third quarter. Montreal leads at 11-7, and we'll be back in a moment. This is an extremely critical point in this ball game. If Montreal could march on down and pick up another major score, Ottawa is in a lot of trouble. But if they can stop them here, look out. Pass is caught by James Hood, and Hood will have a first down for the Alouettes as they'll spot it at about the 42.5-yard line. Well, there's a book that has all the information that you will ever need to know about the Canadian Football League. Every player in the Hall of Fame. If you're interested in acquiring it, why not write to the Canadian Football League Facts and Figures, 1200 Bay Street, 12th floor, Toronto, Ontario. And there you saw the zip code. Barnes unloads. This is Huckluck. And Huckluck will be very close to the first down, but may come up a yard short at the 52-yard line.
Well, Larry, the last 2 plays, you've really seen Joe Barnes at his best. Possession-type passes, the stop pattern to James Hood, where he picked up a first down with some nifty little running. And then when everything's The linebackers have dropped off. Dump it off to the running back, Dan Huckluck, and he's got 9 yards, and that's typical Joe Barnes.
Well, the toaster is in the ball game. Brett Williams, number 71. Now, he's a defensive tackle, but they have been known to use him on short yardage situations. And that's who gets the ball. It is Williams. He tried to hurdle at the last moment. Ottawa insisting that they've stopped him. Daryl Nicholson says no way, and Daryl Hall too. But he'll be close, and if he doesn't have it, it'll be within inches.
Well, that's 6'3", 260 pounds of Brett Williams coming through the air, the toaster. I like it.
Oh, yeah, I do, too. And as I explained earlier, if you weren't with us, Brett Williams calls himself the toaster because he says he can burn teams on both sides. Well, he just burned Ottawa, as a matter of fact, because they picked up the first down. Alouettes on a bit of a roll right now. They have first down. The ball is at their 53. They're doing two things here. They're keeping possession, and they're also chewing up the clock. And we may have the longest fill at the end of this ball game in CFL history. Barnes pass to McTagg. McTagg's got it for another first down at the 45-yard line. Ricky Barton was there to make the tackle for Ottawa. Pickup was 12 yards. So Joe Barnes is really showing you his expertise right now. All the things that he's picked up in places like Montreal, Saskatchewan, Calgary, Toronto. This is 60th CFL game, and he has now scored 100 touchdowns passing, as I recall. This one is picked off, and nobody should be able to catch Chris Ziegler. But Joe Barnes is giving it a good shot. No, sir. Touchdown, Ottawa. The Riders are back in front. The ball was tipped. And Ziegler was there to bring it away. The sophomore from Indiana University.
Well, Pat, I can only speculate, but it might have been number 66, Greg Marshall, who gets a hand up. Now it's 79, Jeff Roberts, and he tips that ball intended for James Hood. Number 38, Chris Ziegler, had 5 interceptions last year, gets a big one in 1986. The Rough Riders move out in front.
A 70-yard pass interception gives Ottawa a 13-11 lead, and it'll be 14 in a matter of moments. There it is.
And you know who was back in blocking on that point after attempt? Peter Vandenbos.
Well, that'll be good news for Ottawa that their offensive line is back in coordinate activity again, because Vandenbos was hammered a couple of seconds ago. But this is Chris Ziegler.
Well, and that's the second time in the game that Jeff Roberts has tipped the ball, too. And Ziegler, the recipient of that tip, as he took it all away for the touchdown. What an alert play on that defense.
Strangely enough, that's the first turnover by the Ottawa Rough Riders on Montreal tonight. But it's a huge one. Now the kickoff, as we've mentioned, comes from the 35-yard line this year. All kickoffs, doesn't matter what the situation is, they will all come from the 35, and that's where Dean Dorsey will tee it up for Ottawa.
Now, Chris Ziegler really was a source of concern for head coach Joe Moss. He had been their middle safety last year. Moved to the defensive half position. Of course, you have to play a lot more man-to-man coverage. They were pleased with his performance in training camp and the preseason schedule, and now comes up with a huge play here in the second half.
Tell you what they like most about Chris Ziegler is that he just loves playing football.
He loves to hit.
Yeah. This is Kerry Taylor from his 7-yard line. And Kerry Taylor is brought down at the 35. Daryl Nicholson was there to make a real good open field tackle.
You know, I'd say that's a pretty good job keeping them inside the 35-yard line now that they do kick off from their own 35. So I think that might be the barometer this year, if you can keep the team inside its own 35.
We'll have a good one for you next Friday night as well. The Argonauts 1-0 against the Montreal Alouettes, now trailing by 3 points here at Lansdowne Park in the nation's capital.
And traditionally, these two teams have really provided some excitement over the years.
So if you're in Montreal, why not buy a ticket, support the Alouettes, and at the same time, you'll be getting some good entertainment as Montreal hosts Toronto next Friday. Movement by the Ottawa defensive line as Alan Reed, the ball carrier, gets it out over the 35 to about the 37. Al Washington was there to make the tackle. The penalty marker is down. And it will be offside Ottawa.
Lloyd Lewis is coming back into the ball game. He was not injured. His knee brace, which he wears in his right knee, gave out. It had to be repaired and retaped. Nothing wrong with him at all.
Offside, Ottawa, number 37. First down repeated.
Number 37 for Ottawa is Shane Ireland. He jumped the gun. So he's in there at a defensive end spot, or was on that previous play. As Barnes fires down the middle, and the ball goes right through the hands of Kerry Taylor, who should have made the catch because, boy, you can't throw the ball much better than Joe did on that occasion.
No, you sure can't. And just when you've thrown an interception for a touchdown, you really want to try and reestablish something. And Joe had the right play call. Kerry Taylor runs a good pattern into the middle, finds the open spot, and slows down, but just doesn't hang on to the football.
So it'll be 2nd and 5 Montreal. The ball is inside their own 40 at the 39-yard line with 4.5 minutes left to play in the third quarter. They set the screen up. This is Huckluck. And Huckluck is upended well short of the first down. Al Washington, number 17, was there. And so, too, was the man of the hour, Chris Sigler, who just moments ago returned that 70-yard interception for a touchdown. So Montreal, who had a 1st and 5, will now be punting on 3rd and 2. Number 1 for Ottawa is Phil Jones. Number 29 is the rookie Reginald Butts from Tulane University via the USFL. Jones at the 31. Well, and he found a little bit of a seam there and accelerated quickly to get out very close to the 40-yard line. You folks in Western Canada will have an opportunity to watch the CFL on CTV this Sunday. The Calgary Stampeders will be in Saskatchewan. That's 3 o'clock local time. Look for it on CTV in the western part of the country only. First down. Ottawa, the ball is just inside their 40-yard line. Tom Burgess, the rookie from Colgate at quarterback, and in a mess of trouble right now. He throws. It was very nearly picked off. They rule incomplete. Doug Scott had the big rush on him, and it was Brian Dudley who tried to make the interception right on the sideline.
Brian Dudley's an interesting case as we see Tom Burgess trying to complete one downfield. I'm not too sure to who it was intended for, but Brian Dudley attended 3 training camps of the Montreal Alouettes. Finally this year was able to make it.
Time is whistled in by referee Jacques DeCarry. And so Tom Burgess, the Ottawa rookie quarterback, faces a 2nd and 10 from just inside his 40-yard line. Burgess fires. And there were so many people jumping in and out of Mike Hudson's vision that the ball did get through to him, and he didn't hang on.
Once again, the great drop of the linebacking crew. Number 42, Paul Gray, causing most of the trouble there as he slides over from his middle linebacking spot, as well as number 72, Lamont Jeffers. But Montreal Alouette linebackers have been really active in their pass defense tonight.
Tom Burgess, the newcomer at quarterback for Ottawa, has completed only 1 of 5 for 6 yards.
And he's lucky he doesn't have about 3 or 4 interceptions, because Steve Benjamin had a good shot at one earlier.
Yeah.
Brian Dudley on the last play, and there Paul Gray got a hand on it.
Something had been thrown on the field, so the official goes over, picks it up. And Kenny Clark waits for time to be whistled back in. All of this taking place with 3:20 left to play in this third quarter. Ottawa 14, Montreal 11. This is Taylor from his 28-yard line, and look out for this guy. Taylor with a good return gets it out over the 40 to the 41. And that's where the Alouettes are going to put it into play as Mike Hudson was down to make the stop for Ottawa. What feeling do you get about this game so far?
Well, I feel like it's really still anybody's game because 14-11 is nobody's out of it at this point. I just feel like Montreal's got to start making the key play and not catch on to that football as Kerry Taylor dropped one in the last series. Joe Barnes, I mean, with the experience, he knows the kind of plays that he can get momentum back with. Stay with that short passing game.
I mean, it's like Ottawa has made a novena to be in front of this thing, 14-11.
See, that's the kind of pass play right there.
Right out to the 50-yard line. It'll leave him short of a first down. Mike McTagg was there to make the catch. Al Washington the tackle. But you're absolutely right, Leif, and it would appear that they could do that all day, providing that the receivers can catch the football.
Mike McTagg had 47 receptions last year, was the team nominee for their Shenley Outstanding Canadian, and Gary Durchik would like to see him really pick up the pace this year. We've talked about the loss of Nick Araki. Everybody has to pick up the pace just a little bit.
McTagg has caught 5, and so too has Jacques Chapdelaine. This is Alan Reed, and he found just a little opening there, and it's just as well that he went to the left, because had he gone to the right, Darrell Nicholson would have had him on wonky street too.
And let me tell you, Rick Sovieta, number 75, found the toaster that time. He got whacked. There's Darrell Nicholson, the middle linebacker. In short yardage, he's the guy that has to make the play. He came over the top, but Alan Reed just squirted underneath for the first down. But Rick Sovieta and the toaster had a pretty good one-on-one.
It's first down. Alouettes at their 53-yard line. Barnes is sacked by Lloyd Lewis, number 76. He just never had a shot. Lewis was there to record Ottawa's 5th sack.
Second-year player with the Ottawa Rough Riders, last year an Eastern Conference All-Star. Shows you why there was just great quickness to get in on Joe Barnes.
I mean, he's got to be a great athlete because he had to play about 40 games last year. He played the entire USFL season, then came to Ottawa and played the full season with them.
With the Houston Gamblers in the United States Football League, and then, of course, to Ottawa.
Second and loads, and guess who's there again? It's the same man. From Texas A&I, 6'3", 250-pound Lloyd Lewis, back-to-back sacks. And the Ottawa Rough Rider fans give him a loud ovation to show that they are just delighted at the way that he's performed tonight.
Well, there you see he's working against the left guard, number 60, Blake Nill, and he's 6'6", 285, but it shows you size and strength always doesn't win because quickness beat him that time. He was their nominee as Defensive Player of the Year last year, Lloyd Lewis was.
Let's see if they go after that, because Ottawa has loaded up that front line. Here comes from the outside. Number 29 was Reggie Butts, but Phil Jones, the lone returner back, makes the catch on the run and gets to the Ottawa 53-yard line. Boy, those plays by Lloyd Lewis have really activated this crowd now and seem to have inspired the Ottawa club generally. They look a little more enthusiastic.
Well, it's been all defense here in the second half. The 70-yard interception return for a touchdown by Chris Ziegler. And a couple of sacks, as Pat mentioned, by Lloyd Lewis. Not a great deal of offense here in the second half.
Reggie Butts didn't come close to blocking that punt, but what he did do was he forced Mike McTagg to boot it a little quicker than he would have liked to, and as a result, it was only a 30-yard punt, a 6-yard return. Ottawa has possession at their 53-yard line with a first down. The screen is set up. This is Big Jim Reed. And Reed lumbers his way to the Montreal 47-yard line, and he should be within a yard of the first down.
Yeah, that's a great play. I was wondering when we were going to start to see some screens in the second half just to slow that rush down. There's Steve Rocky going in, but perfectly set up, the timing perfect. Nothing fancy about Jim Reed. Watch at the end, number 27, Rick Ryan. He really takes a shot.
Rick Ryan from Weber State, but he was with the BC Lions, if memory serves me correct.
Yes, he was. In fact, last year he was traded to the Montreal Alouettes for the rights to center Ian Sinclair, who was with the collegiate champion Miami Hurricanes a few years ago. Ian Sinclair in a backup capacity with the BC Lions.
Miles Darling will have to leave the ball game for at least one play. He really didn't want to, but that's the rule. If the training staff comes out to attend, when they leave, you're with them.
So that means that Rick Ryan moves to the inside safety spot. And number 4, Daryl Moyer, who fans remember from the Calgary Stampeders, comes in at that middle spot.
It's second down, a yard to go. Ottawa for a first down. Burgess keeps it himself. Well, there was pretty good defensive line surge by the Alouettes. This one's going to be close, but it appears as though the Rough Riders probably did pick up the first down on the final play of the third quarter. It is Ottawa 14, Montreal 11. We'll return with the fourth quarter in a moment. We're back to start the fourth quarter of play. Ottawa with a first down in Montreal territory. Rookie quarterback Tom Burgess on the run. Throws. The pass is complete. There is a penalty marker down on the field, however. Reggie Butts, number 29, made the reception for Ottawa. Let's see what the penalty flag is.
I think he stepped out of bounds on his pass pattern and came back into the field of play, and of course you can't do that.
Flag thrown in error. Second down, incomplete pass.
Well, you figure that one out.
Well,
I guess he threw the flag, just got excited because he was out of bounds or something, but
well, I know, but then that should have been the explanation. Because the pass was obviously complete, but it's second and 10, and the ball is remaining back at the original line of scrimmage. Burgess going deep, looking for Hudson. It is picked off. Rick Ryan with the interception for the Alouettes, and it'll give them possession at the 20. Well, that one wasn't close. Burgess was looking for Mike Hudson, but he overthrows him, but Ottawa still leads it. 14-11. We'll be back in a moment. Let's take a look at the Ottawa quarterback, Tom Burgess. He floats this one high and deep, looking for Mike Hudson, but right into the hands of the safety, Rick Ryan, and he had no trouble at all making the interception. So Montreal has possession outside their 20-yard line. This is the first game for that young man, Tom Burgess, from Colgate University. You've got to expect that he's going to make some mistakes, and he's made lots of them. Pass is complete to Mike McTagg. That's the 6th time this afternoon that they have been able to complete that pass. Chris Ziegler was there to make the tackle for Ottawa, and Ziegler, number 38, returned an interception for a 70-yard touchdown that put Ottawa in the lead in this ball game. You can see, though, that the Alouettes still have more yards offensively, 273 to 167, but the turnovers are 4-1. Ottawa coughing it up 4 times. It's amazing that they're out in front.
Well, there's one big turnover.
Yeah.
That's cost them 7 points, the Montreal Alouettes.
Barnes' pass. Boy, that's a great catch. A diving catch by number 34, Alan Reed, the back, coming out of that backfield.
Well, we told you he has great hands, and once again, Joe Barnes going to possession-type passing plays. Crossing pattern, Mike McTagg now, a little short pass to Alan Reed, and boy, that's the best way to get momentum back in a hurry. Yeah, there's Bill Stevenson's former pal.
I thought you were going to say that's Bill Stevenson. Looks a little like him.
No.
17 out of 32 is Joe Barnes in passing so far this evening. Pass is complete again to McTagg, and McTagg slips that initial tackle by Ricky Barden, and that's why that play went as far as it did. Mike McTagg has been catching passes for 6 yards, 12 yards, 9 yards. This time he gets 17 because Barden, who has been there to make the tackle on all the previous occasions, missed it this time.
Well, he's a pretty courageous fellow. He doesn't mind coming across that middle. He's going to get a good block. Well, you can't quite see it from Kerry Taylor, his slot back mate, but Mike McTagg's done a great job on those short passing plays.
First down, Montreal from their 50. Again, Mike McTagg. Again, a penalty marker is down. And it looked like the same passing play. However, it was not to McTagg. I believe it was to Jacques Chapdelaine that time. Let me see. And 89, it looks an awful lot like 88, doesn't it? 89 is Raymond Casey. C-A-I-S-S-I-E, who came across the middle and made that catch for Montreal.
Holding Montreal, number 51. First down repeated.
But it's negated by a holding penalty, the second one of the night, by Big Bob Lubig, number 51, the right guard. 4th holding penalty of the night against Montreal. This one is Chapdelaine, and he gets most of that lost yardage back. As a matter of fact, he very nearly picked up the first down. This hit was made by Darrell Hall, number 24, in Ottawa territory.
Well, let's take a close look at Jacques Chapdelaine. He's working on number 24, Darrell Hall, and he does it perfectly. He took him to the inside, get those hips turned, and now you make your break to the outside. And that is just a perfect pass pattern and a nice catch. Boy, I'm impressed with his play tonight.
Well, there you see 6 receptions, 112 yards. His touchdown was a beauty. This is Alan Reed. And Reed will be very close to the first down. He had to get to about the Ottawa 50-yard line and 6 inches, and it's that close. Well, Joe Moss has got to be happy with the way his defense has played, because they have played very well. He has to have a migraine, though, over his problems at the quarterback spot. Now, it looks like they came up just about an inch or two short. And all of this happening with 11 minutes and 45 seconds left to play in this fourth and what could be final quarter. But remember this, in 1986, there is overtime in the Canadian Football League. Should this game end in a tie, there would be 2 5-minute halves. Joe Barnes keeps it himself, gets to the 50. It is a first down, Montreal. The ball at the Ottawa 50-yard line. Incidentally, want to remind everybody, next week's game in Montreal at the Olympic Stadium, where the Toronto Argonauts will be the visitors, and that you'll see here on CTV at 7:30 next Friday, is the 40th anniversary celebration of the Alouettes. They were formed in 1946 by Leo Dongeron, by Lou Heyman, and by Eric Craddock. And some of us actually remember that.
Not me.
Spy, you are barely able to remember the 1979 Grey Cup.
Well, Mike McTagg, who has enjoyed a nice night tonight, drops another one, and really, boy, he should have made that catch. Not that tough. He's made tougher ones, I'll tell you.
But that has really been Montreal's story tonight.
Yep.
And Barnes is sacked this time. Back at the Montreal 53-yard line by Jeff Roberts. Joe Barnes had no chance whatever.
See what a drop ball does to you? Now they've got to punt the ball away.
Yeah. Seventh sack by that Ottawa defensive unit.
Well, they've really done a good job. Greg Marshall, Jeff Roberts, Ron Engelson, and Lloyd Lewis, that front four, they really put the pressure on Joe Barnes.
Jeff Roberts, incidentally, is the injured Ottawa Rough Rider. He's the man who just got credit for that quarterback sack.
Yeah, he had a tough year last year. He was with Saskatchewan, and they had big plans for him, but he tore a knee up and was out of the lineup. When he was back healthy, he'd lost his job, so they dealt him to Ottawa, but he's a good one. Can run all day long, really quick for a defensive end.
And not a small man at 6'3", 235 pounds.
There's an old bromide in football that says that this is a game of emotion. What they don't tell you, Pat and Leaf, is which emotion it might be on any given play. It's been a case study in human psychology standing beside the Ottawa bench tonight. In just the last 5 minutes, starting the fourth quarter, all smiles and chuckles, all standing, all ready to go. But since Montreal moved the ball from under their own goalpost to midfield, they all started to sit down, and they have grim looks. And then, once again, the enthusiasm with the big sack.
Well, Dan, as I recall, as a former player, you're always excited and you're happy if the offense is working. So it's exciting for the fans and exciting for the players on the sidelines. But when the game slows down, it's really no fun for anybody.
10 minutes and 35 seconds left to play as Jeff Roberts leaves the field of play. Mike McTagg will be punting on 3rd and 16. And Ottawa will be hoping to get some kind of a decent return out of either Phil Jones, number 1, or Reginald Butts, number 29. Ottawa leading it by a field goal, 14-11. Not a particularly good kick by McTagg. This is Butts at his 21. And Butts with a half-decent return gets to the 30-yard line. So Ottawa has a little bit of breathing room, leading it 14-11. We'll be back in just a moment.
A&B.
Ankle worked on at the trainer's bench right now. What happened is about 10 minutes ago he suffered what was called then a minor sprain, and they loaded it up with some more tape and he went back in, but he rolled over on it, and he is in considerable pain when they move the ankle, and it's doubtful right now whether or not he may be able to go back in.
I would think if he doesn't come back in, then it may be a serious injury, and if it is, boy, is that a loss to Ottawa, because what they've got right now is a good offense, or excuse me, a good defense and no offense. This is Reed, and on the screen pass, again, good yardage. Jim Reed picks up a first down for the Rough Riders out to their 45-yard line. That is only their second first down of this half. Miles Darling, number 36, came up to make the stop on behalf of the Montreal Alouettes.
Really well set up. They got that whole Montreal Alouette defensive line in there, and then number 54 Ross Francis threw an excellent block to spring Jim Reed loose.
Ball is actually spotted at the 47-yard line, so it is first down Ottawa from that point. Tom Burgess, the rookie quarterback, decides to run it himself, and he has another first down inside the 50 to the 49-yard line. Well, now we know that Tom Burgess is the kind of a quarterback that should be able to play well in the CFL. He's a scrambler. What we've got to find out is, can he throw the football?
He gets a good block here from 29 Reggie Butts on William Mitchell to spring him for another 10 yards or so.
Pickup was 15 yards.
This kid's 5'9", about 170 pounds, and he takes on a big heavyweight in William Mitchell. That's pretty impressive.
This is Lester Brown. And Lester gets close to the 45-yard line. If they give him that position, it'll be a pickup of 4. See, Ottawa would just love to chew up as much time as they can here. We're down to 8.5 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter. Ottawa leading it by a field goal, 14-11. Clock is running, as you can see, on a humid night here in Ottawa. Burgess threw the ball just a fraction of a second before Steve Rocky was all over him. He was fortunate that he did get the ball away, because it would have been a big loss back at the 52. It's a disappointing crowd here at Lansdowne Park. They haven't announced how big it is yet. But you see, of course, if you work in the civil service, when there's a statutory holiday like the one coming up, you just take off like about a month and a half. So they're gone from Ottawa. They left yesterday in all probability to return a week from tomorrow.
Not touching that one.
The boot by Ken Clark will bounce back towards the Ottawa Rough Rider defenders, taken on the dead run. And out to about the 15-yard line, but that's where the Alouettes are going to start. With 7:41 left to play in the fourth quarter, they trail 14-11. We'll be back in a moment. Well, Gary Durchik knows that it's not the most enviable spot to start a series of downs, as Montreal Alouettes have possession at their own 17-yard line. On the other hand, this man, Joe Moss, is hoping that his defense will continue to play as well as it has, because at this moment, with 7:41 left to play in the fourth quarter, Ottawa's defense is responsible for them being out in front, 14-11.
Well, it's as simple as this. Montreal cannot afford to make any more mistakes. They've got to hang on to the football and just move it down the field.
Oh, there was movement by Ottawa. They jumped offside. Now the question is, were they drawn? The flag finally comes down.
Daryl Nicholson coming on the blitz was definitely in before the ball snapped.
Dan Huckluck was the ball carrier, incidentally. But that will be incidental, because if the penalty is against Ottawa, it'll be a 5-yard march off.
Well, they did that earlier in this game, deep down in Montreal's territory. Jumped offside, got a little edgy, and gave Montreal 1st and 5.
Offside, Ottawa, number 76. First down repeated.
Lloyd Lewis, number 76. Jacques DeCarry.
He's excited, isn't he?
Yeah, Jacques is very excited right at this moment. This is Alan Reed. And Reed, number 34, is very close to a first down. Rick Sovieta, who has played so well for so many years in the CFL, 10 of them, as a matter of fact, was there to make the stop. Well, I mean, Montreal has run the football well, and they've certainly done some things very impressively with their passing game.
I think their offense has done a pretty good job tonight. They've just hurt themselves a few times with drop balls.
On first down, fired over the middle. Now, is that our friend Raymond Casey? Rick Sovieta, number 75, was there, and it was number 89 for Montreal, Raymond Casey. It's very difficult to tell from our vantage point because of the Montreal sweaters. 88 and 89 look very similar. But Raymond Casey is quite a story because they hope to sell some tickets with him. He is a French-speaking Quebec area boy, and they think that he can help them in their marketing. He also has helped them in catching the ball a couple of times. Pass is picked off, and guess who? Chris Sigler, who returned one for 70 yards for a touchdown, may have saved Ottawa's bacon once again right now. Well, if you watched the Ottawa Rough Riders at all in 1985, you had to like this kid because he was a rookie in the CFL, but he always was very enthusiastic. Every game he tried as hard as he could, and he's continuing it here in 86. And the results are certainly flattering.
Well, that's when a quarterback really gets tunnel vision. All Joe Barnes was doing, looking for a white shirt, white shirt, white shirt. Didn't see Chris Sigler just standing almost right in front of him.
Ottawa with possession at the Montreal 35. Burgess's pass is caught by Hudson, and Hudson fights his way to about the 31-yard line. And he was carrying number 15, Brian Dudley, on his back. Pickup was about 4 yards, so make it 2nd and 6. Burgess has had some success throwing the screen and throwing that little run and shoot pass to the slot back, such as on that occasion. He's had no success really throwing the ball deep downfield. It's 2nd down and 6 yards to go. That's the halfback pass to Lester Brown. Brown swinging out of that backfield, gets inside the 35 to about the 31-yard line, so his pickup is negligible.
Well, that's a design swing screen pass that they call it. As soon as the ball is snapped, the back takes off and the linemen also take off, but the Alouette defensive front took off at the same time, did a great job.
Matter of fact, they ended up losing yardage on that. They've spotted it back at about the 33, 34-yard line.
Gentlemen, I just had a fast chat with the gentleman that picked off his second of the night, Chris Sigler, and he said he faked as if he were going to come up in force and then backed off, and the ball was thrown right to him.
Dean Dorsey is going to try his first field goal of 1986 from 40 yards out. And it is good. What a year Dean Dorsey had in 85. He may be as consistent a field goal kicker as any in professional football. He just is unbelievably consistent.
Well, he's a heck of a nice guy and struggled for a year trying to get with the club. Finally, Ottawa gave him a legitimate shot to make their team, and he really has not disappointed them in the least.
And though the field goal pads Ottawa's lead to 6 points, Montreal is still very much alive with 4 minutes and 33 seconds left to play in the ball game. And as I recall, the preseason score between these two teams, Montreal beat Ottawa by a single point. So a converted touchdown here would give Montreal an 18-17 lead. Now we'll just take a fast look and see who's back there for the Alouettes. Joe Moss on the sidelines wants to make sure that Jeff Treflin, number 29, on the left of your screen, and Kerry Taylor, number 20, are contained on this kickoff that Dean Dorsey will perform from the Ottawa 35.
Well, I think at this point, Chris Ziegler has a pretty firm hold on our Carling O'Keefe defensive player of the game.
Well, I know
Lloyd Lewis, a couple of sacks.
Yeah. Kerry Taylor takes this at his own 10. See, now there's a good return. He just headed right up the field, and it was Chris Ziegler, number 38, who finally ended up tripping him up. But it's a 31-yard return by Kerry Taylor, and Montreal will start from their own 40-yard line.
The Ottawa coaching staff is giving the defense a real pep talk as they come onto the field. They say this is the series. They can win this ball game right here.
Well, there's no question about that. And if any of those defensive players didn't know that, they've got to be a little clueless because they're only ahead by 6. And Joe Barnes is sacked one more time. Number 8 of the night. Ron Engelson gets his first of the evening, although he's been around the quarterback much of the night.
Well, since the injury to Jeff Roberts, Ottawa has gone to a 3-man line, and they're still getting excellent pressure, as shown by that sack.
So it's second down and about 18 yards to go for the first down. Barnes is passed for McTagg. He makes the catch. That's a great catch by Mike McTagg. He knew he was going to be thumped. He was by Phil Jones, but he hangs on to the football, and Montreal picks up 30 yards and the first down.
Well, it's really been feast or famine for Mike McTagg tonight. He's caught a lot of balls. He's dropped a few, but really an important catch right there. He knew he was going to get whacked by Phil Jones. He did, but he hung on. He's injured on the field right now, but that is really, you know, if they go on to win this game, they're going to look back and say it could have been the great catch by Mike McTagg that set it up.
You know, football is such a strange game, but it shows you what concentration means to a pass receiver. He knew he was going to get hit. He concentrated on the football, and he made the catch, yet he's dropped a couple that were much simpler than that.
Well, it's hard to figure out sometimes what goes through their minds when they're going up for that football, because the easy ones have eluded him, and yet he made the tough one right there.
A big 30-yard play. It was second down and 18 yards to go. Joe Barnes, who has completed 22 of 39 tonight for 292 yards, went to the guy who's been his bread and butter fellow all evening, Mike McTagg, his 8th catch for a total of 106 yards. Well, Joe Barnes has played well here tonight, and you'll see some other good performances this weekend in Western Canada as the Calgary Stampeders go to Taylor Field in Regina. It's a fun place to watch a football game, and you folks will see it out west. Ottawa leads this one 17-11. We'll be back in just a moment.
Following tonight's telecast, the Carling O'Keefe Sports defensive game star will receive a Canadian Mint 1-ounce solid gold coin presented by Tilly, Canadian manufacturers of fine leather goods. At Tilly, they bring together quality and creativity in all their products.
The Ottawa fans gave Mike McTagg a very warm round of applause. Everybody delighted to see that he can walk off the field under his own steam, because Mike McTagg has not only had a great football game here tonight, but boy, did he show some courage, knowing he was going to take a lick from Phil Jones. Took it, hung on to the football, and gives Montreal first down on Ottawa's side of midfield at the 49-yard line. And all of this with 3:35 left to play in the fourth quarter. A converted touchdown would put Montreal ahead. Barnes' pass is intercepted. Oh, what a big play by Darrell Hall.
Jacques Chapdelaine running that stop to the inside, and then he turns back outside. Now, Darrell Hall was beaten on that play earlier. He quickly recognizes it breaks on the football, and although Jacques Chapdelaine tries to break it up, that's an outstanding interception. Oh, you can't fool him twice.
Boy, he reacted quickly, too, didn't he?
Well, he really did. But, you know, as soon as he saw Chapdelaine break down and then turn to the outside, he knew what was coming, and really not a super throw by Joe Barnes. He's got to put that out towards the sideline.
So Ottawa has first down at their 40-yard line after their third interception of the night. They also have 8 quarterback sacks. Burgess carries it himself, gets over the 45 to the 47. It'll be a 2nd and 3, Ottawa.
Darrell Hall may have just about wrapped up this ball game with the Ottawa Rough Riders' 3rd interception on the night. He said that the club, the Alouettes, have been running little short outs all night. He knew they were going to go back to them. It was just a matter of time. He was waiting on that play. Just stepped into the football. He said it was real easy.
Well, he made it look easy, Daniel. You're right.
2:50. The clock is running. Left to play in the 4th quarter. 2nd and 3. This is Lester Brown. And Lester has another Ottawa first down. Paul Gray was there to bring him down. But not before Lester Brown picks up 12 to the Montreal 51-yard line.
And what a great run he made, because he made a little step to the inside and then broke it outside. That froze William Mitchell, the outside linebacker. And Lester Brown, the cagey veteran that he was, really did a nice job.
Burgess again keeps it himself. And he'll be very close to another Ottawa first down. Steve Rocky was there to make the tackle, but I was a little bit surprised when I saw him roll out. I thought to myself, why will he throw the football? But I don't think he really ever had any intent.
Well, I think you're right, Pat. Unless the guy comes completely wide open, I think you'll see Tom Burgess just run that football, and boy, it sure keeps that clock moving too. No incomplete passes or out of bounds plays.
He picked up 8 yards, so it's 2nd and 2 Ottawa with 2:10 left to play in the ball game. This one is given to Reed, and Reed twists and turns and gets very close to the first down marker. They may bring out the sticks here. That's what they're going to do. Jacques DeCarry says, bring him out, boys. All right. Now, what do you do if you're short?
Well, I like to control my own destiny and keep the football, so I'd go for it. Big Jim Reed, 6'3", 230. As a blocking back.
They're almost a full yard.
Yeah, well, I go for it.
See, this is where you really can't win if you're a coach, because everybody wants you to go for it, and if you go for it and don't get it, then you're a real stiff. Burgess keeps it himself. Now, where do they mark it? Because it sure looked like he got very close to the 40-yard line. Alouettes are not too happy at where that ball is going to be placed. William Mitchell feels that it should be placed well outside the 40, but it looks like they're going to spot it very close to it. They're going to bring the chains out, but from our vantage point, Ottawa has a first down. By the length of the football, with 1:49 left to play in the 4th quarter.
Some good news for Montreal Alouette fans. Mike McTagg is not seriously injured. He just had the wind knocked out of him. Apparently, he took a real blow to the stomach, and he had violent shakes for a moment. They were a little concerned at first, but just the wind.
Thank you, Daniel, and that is good news. This is Lester Brown. Well, I told you about the tribute that Joe Moss paid him. He's never seen him play a bad game. And Joe is right, because here's Lester, not likely to end up this season with the Ottawa Rough Riders, really here on a game-to-game basis, but has played very well tonight. And every time they had to pick up yardage, Lester was there to do it for them. 11 carries, 49 yards, all of them tough ones.
Well, the nice thing about Lester is he doesn't make mistakes, and you can count on him. And, of course, Joe Moss realizes that fact.
Picked up 7 yards there at 2nd and 3.
See, now there he stayed in bounds, too. Make sure you keep that clock running, and that's what you expect out of your veterans.
Seems to me Ronnie Lancaster was the head coach in Saskatchewan when they brought him from Clemson University.
Well, you and I have always been great fans of Lester, and you always wonder why guys bounce around the league, but I think he's a darn good player.
Yeah, I do, too. First down, Ottawa, Clock moving with 51 seconds left. They have a first down at the Montreal 29. They'd be quite content to just run this thing out right now. Burgess puts it up, and the touchdown is dropped by Mark Lewis.
Well, he's had a rough night because I think that's only the second ball thrown towards him. He dropped the first one, and now Tom Burgess couldn't have thrown a better strike, and young Mark Lewis, well, he just didn't concentrate. Look at that pass. Perfect throw. Not tipped. Oh, well, I hope he gets another chance.
Yeah, you're right. and Leaf isn't talking about it in this game. Yeah, what that does, too, is it stops the clock. Now, they give the ball back to Lester Brown. Montreal should call a timeout right here. But it may be totally incidental because Dean Dorsey's out, and he doesn't miss a whole lot of them from this spot on the field. It'll be about a 34-yard field goal attempt. Now, there is the timeout called. Montreal does call it. Referee Jacques DeCarry called the timeout on behalf of the Ottawa Rough Riders, which I would find surprising, but
Well, I would, too.
I don't know why Ottawa would want the timeout. He may have simply been confused, and Montreal may well have asked for time. It all comes with 37 seconds left on the clock. Ottawa leading 17-11, hoping to move into a first-place tie with the Toronto Argonauts, who got by Hamilton last night by a point. And the CFL is off to a wonderful start in this such a critical year. But mind you, in deference to the CFL, it seems to me that in the many, many years that I've followed them, every year has been critical. But this is a league, I think, that's going to be competitive from now right till the end of the season.
Well, Pat, I honestly believe if Ottawa goes on to win this game, as it appears they will, they have to really feel like they stole one, because offensively they didn't do a heck of a lot, but the defense won the game for them, and boy, you always want to start the season with a win any way you can.
Dean Dorsey's boot is good. There was a penalty marker down. I believe Montreal will be called offside, and the three-pointer by Dean Dorsey should stand. Now, of course, the option would be Ottawa's, but there is no option here. You take the 3 points, you go home because it's 20-11. Ottawa will win this football game with just 32 seconds left on the clock. Joe Barnes really can't do much about it now. Referee Jacques DeCarry just giving the signal that Montreal was offside. The penalty is declined. And so the Alouettes start from their 35-yard line. Barnes' pass is picked off. Chris Sigler. Boy, what a night he's had. His third interception. You see, Ottawa can be a competitive football team because they play well defensively and they got the best kicking game in the league. I mean, they have the best punter in the league and the best field goal kicker. So they're going to go in. They're going to be in most ball games. Now, obviously, they're going to lose an awful lot of them because they don't have much of an offense at this point. But when you can play defense as well as they do, and you can have a guy like Ken Clark average somewhere around 45 yards a punt, and a guy like Dean Dorsey who is just automatic from 40 yards in, you're going to be competitive. Ball was fumbled. Burgess moved away from the center, dropped the football, and Montreal has recovered with 24 seconds left on the clock. Chris Sigler, the man that you see walking by, number 38, has 3 pass interceptions tonight. One of them a 70-yarder that he returned for a touchdown. And that's what's left to play in this ball game. But you're right, Lee. The Fates didn't deal Montreal much of a hand tonight.
Oh, well, they had their opportunities, though, Pat. They had all the turnovers in the first half, and really, at one point had 3 turnovers and only had 4 points.
This is Ziegler again. 4 tonight. Well, that's some night. Would you be offended if I voted for him as the defensive
Well,
player
I'm not
of the game?
sure. I think we should ask the other members of the crew first.
All right.
Now, Chris, you've won it. There's no question. It's not a secret. There's your defensive player of the game. No question about it.
I would seriously doubt that anyone would vote against him as the player of the week defensively.
You know, I was just going to say that. I think you're probably looking at him right there.
Yeah. Spotter Bill Marsden says maybe the player of the year on
Spotter
this.
gets carried away.
Burgess takes the ball from center, drops back about 4 yards, and that will be the signal that we have one play left in this ball game. Ottawa is going to defeat Montreal 20-11. That should not come as a serious shock. The 2 games played last year between these 2 teams, the Rough Riders won both of them. There it is. This ball game is history. The Ottawa Rough Riders get out to a pretty good start. They can thank their defensive unit. They can thank Dean Dorsey. But most of all, they should thank a fellow by the name of Chris Ziegler, who comes up with 4 interceptions. As a result, Ottawa beats the Montreal Alouettes 20-11. And Dan Matheson is standing by with a fellow who's got to be pretty delighted about it all. Dan?
Head coach Joe Moss, who he'll take the win surely, but you really escaped the bullet tonight. Your offense wasn't there, but your defense was outstanding.
Well, that's the way it is a lot of times. The offense moved the ball at times, but we self-destruct during this time. And at halftime, we made a decision that we weren't getting it done offensively, and we'd make a change and see what Burgess, see if he could lay a fire under us. We came up with the win, and I guess, that's what it's about.
Let me ask you about a couple of people on your defense. First, the Chris Ziegler story starts way back in off-season, doesn't it?
Well, he was the rover last year. We felt that he really didn't have speed to play the safety, and yet you put him any place on the field and he's in the ball game, and you got to love him. So he'll hit people, and you see he knows what the football looks like, and he won the game for us, really.
And Darrell Hall gets the other interception, and certainly both gentlemen benefit from your defensive line.
Well, good pressure, and the guys get the picks, and, we win ball games. We're disappointed in the point production. Hopefully we can get some on the board and start scoring points and looking like a complete football team.
What is the answer then? Is it a personnel problem at quarterback?
Well, the answer is just catch the balls that JC threw that were dropped. The answer is throw the ball better that Burgess didn't throw at times, or JC didn't throw at times. And the answer is better blocking. A better team on offense is what we're after.
Well, Coach, congratulations. Big win. Good way to get the season started.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Head coach Joe Moss of the winning Ottawa Rough Riders. They beat the Montreal Alouettes tonight at home. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. Riders beat the Montreal Alouettes 20-11 in the season opener for both teams, but a very pleasant outing for wide receiver Jacques Chapelain of the Alouettes. 6 receptions, 112 yards, a big touchdown. Jacques, that puts you up by 4 points at the half, 11-7. The club had looked good in the first half. Tell us how things went then.
Well, the first half went well, like you said. And in the second half, I guess we just couldn't finish off our drives. They came blitzing in our backyards, and we just couldn't pick them up all the time. Joe had some big pressure, and sometimes we just couldn't let go of the ball.
There has been a lot of talk about the fact that you have 2 new receivers in camp so late. They've only had a week with the ball team. Has that had a detrimental effect?
Well, I don't know. I think the organization is trying to make changes for the better, and I really think we're trying to strive for better football. And it's a little hard when you got some new players trying to adapt to a new quarterback or vice versa. But I think we played well tonight, despite the fact that the score is in favor of Ottawa. Maybe we'll do better things next week.
Well, you must have gone to the half, to the dressing room, shaking your heads. You'd completely dominated 2 quarters of play, and yet you couldn't get more than the 1 touchdown.
Well, it's hard to say, like we were, thank God, we we picked the right plays against the right defenses in the first half, and I guess we just couldn't do that in the second half.
Okay, here's your touchdown. Tell us how it happened.
Well, I believe I read cover 20 here, and they were too deep, and the middle was wide open. Yeah, I got a little help from the referee, I think, and James Hood threw a good block at me. I think I was just more or less running by fear and everything else, trying to get into the end zone.
Well, Jacques, get it back together this week, and we'll see you next week when you take on the Argonauts.
Okay, I'd like to say hi to Kim and Kayla. I think Kayla's asleep by now.
Congratulations once again, Jacques Chapdelaine, the offensive star tonight. The Alouettes lose to the Rough Riders. Back to talk with defensive star Chris Sigler in just a moment. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. It's the season opener for both the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Montreal Alouettes. It's the Riders that get off on the right foot, mainly because of this man right here who tied a CFL regular season record tonight with 4 interceptions. Chris Sigler, this must feel great.
It does feel good. You know, not only the 4 interceptions, but it's good to get off to a good start and win the first game.
Your performance tonight, we talked to Joe Moss right after the game. He says your performance won the ball game for them tonight because the Riders admittedly did not play all that well.
Well, I don't know about that. You know, it's a team effort anytime you go out. You know, I'm happy, very happy the way I played and the way it worked out. But the guys up front put a lot of pressure on Joe tonight. And, you know, that allowed me to, you know, move in and get some interceptions.
What was the feeling on this ball club coming in here tonight? We'd been told over and over again that the offense was better, that there was more optimism, and that you didn't need the defense anymore to keep you hanging in.
Well, I think the offense is better, you know, whether they happen to show it tonight or not. You know, we were pretty good defensively last year, and we made some changes to improve it, I think, this year. So hopefully we'll put everything together and play well as a team.
Tell me what happened to yourself tonight. How did those 4 interceptions happen? Were you doing something differently? Was Joe not throwing the ball properly? Tell us the story.
I don't know. The first quarter, you know, he threw one and went through my hands. And well, this one here, I don't even know if he saw me or not. I think this was the last play of the game, and he was just having to throw it up. So I just kind of snuck in between the guys. They were all just standing there. So it really wasn't that great a play. It just happened to be in the right spot at the right time.
Certainly the game breaker and the one that made the big difference was the tipped one.
Well, that one helped a lot. You know, that got my confidence up, and I think Jeff Roberts was the guy that tipped it. And without him tipping it, you know, I'm not sure I'd have made the play, but, you know, fortunately he did, and helping to go in for a score.
Tell me what happened to your head during the offseason when you were told that they didn't need you at safety anymore.
Well, I was kind of disappointed, you know, but Phil Jones has come in. He's got a lot of experience, and, you know, he's really pulled the secondary, I think, together and put a, you know, a lot more solid effect back there. But the inside safety's been tough for me. But, you know, fortunately things will keep going like they did tonight.
How have you had to adapt?
Well, I think playing the man-to-man coverage has been the biggest adaptation that I've had to make. And I'm trying to improve on it each week in practice and doing a little extra work there. And, you know, hopefully it keeps going good.
Well, you know why they were dying to keep you around is because you are a tough hitter, a punishing hitter. Where does a guy that's not overwhelmingly big get that kind of punch?
I don't know. I think anybody can be a pretty good hitter if they just want to be. You know, I think it comes from good coaching coming up through the years and stuff like that. But, you know, it doesn't really matter how big you are as long as you stick your head in there. So,
Chris, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations to Chris Sigler, our defensive star of the game, and the entire Ottawa Rough Riders who beat the Montreal Alouettes tonight, 20-11. We invite you to stand by for next week's CTV Friday night telecast. The Toronto Argonauts are in Montreal to meet the Alouettes. Good night from Ottawa. This program is copyright and is strictly intended for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the CTV television network is strictly prohibited.